Ignition of the thrill.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Lazy Sunday live stream here on Out of the Basement. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And we've got a very special guest with us today. Making his debut on the channel, we are joined with Bailey.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. It'll be a fun stream, but yeah, I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, and we can get into it. But you guys were the first people I ever saw in the Star Wars Black Series space that kind of got me into discovering other people in the space too. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we're excited to have you on. For those of you that don't know that are just joining us here, Bailey is a Black Series sculptor. So we've got someone with a little bit of insight who's actually physically sculpted the figures. Well, digitally, but
Yeah.
Same thing. But so, of course, we're going to be picking Bailey's brain pretty much the whole stream. But we do have a little bit of news to discuss. We'll also do recent pickups and all that.
Do we have
jazz
news?
As well? Yeah, we do.
What happened?
I thought we were going to talk about the import figures.
Oh, yeah. I don't have that pulled up, but yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
All right. But yeah, what's up, everyone? Nice to see you in here. So far, we got 126 people with us. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe if you are new as well. Exciting things happening on the channel, right, brother?
That is correct. We're on a string of... Hey, whoa. What was that?
What?
Yo, I like that.
What's this?
I like that.
Oh, I got the old one.
Clink. Yep.
I just had a good old sparkling ice today.
There you go.
Awesome. So hello, everyone in the chat. We got tons of people in here already. Harpo Quandrax, Wayne, Han Shot First, Happy Lazy Sunday, Awful Risk Vader. But yes, you are right, Nate. We are on a string of just super exciting things happening.
Yes.
A lot of shill confirming going on around here on the channel. TBD.
Yeah.
But yeah, hello TVC Trev, Dan, Gamerzone, Sean, Scorpion's here. Got Nail and Chill for $30. Nail and Chill is amazing.
Hell yeah.
Love
And they
that
watched
figure.
Obsession.
Look at that.
Also, hell yeah.
Great film.
Yeah.
Toby, Livo, out for dinner.
He's in the UK, bro.
I know. He's he needs his beans and
That's right.
his mushy peas and everything.
Yeah.
Midian, Seth, Riley, Zoo Boy in the house, Commander Vero. Lane Speeder Luke is so stoked on this.
Hey.
I am too, because I've watched the Black Series Cantina episode, and I've also watched the Figure Ball episode. And so I was trying to give you ample space here because you're bound to repeat yourself a lot in this stream. I had that in mind with some of the questions I asked the Discord for questions, and there's some pretty good ones in there.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we finally have you on. I'm very, very excited. Our community is excited. Avix has been a member for 13 months.
Hey.
Thank you so much. There was also one, Luke Skinwalker, upgraded their channel membership to Rebo's Fist.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Really appreciate you, Luke Skinwalker. That is the best way to support us. We got Troy here, Geodracky. Geodracky, all right. I got Pokemon on the brain, I guess.
For real.
Jeremy Bruno's been a member for 29 months. Says, sup, guys? I thought it would be John Hasbro. Now, we're not quite at that level.
Sorry.
Bounty
One
Breeze,
step below.
Steve-O. I'm seeing some new names. Here.
True.
All right.
Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Couple last minute. We got Matthias, Cannon, sup guys. Prep the interrogation droid is crazy.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah,
but
Michael Fontana, been a member for 14 months. All right. That's crazy.
Cough if Dexter Jetster's coming. Right.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, let's talk peak. All right, so I guess we'll start with the basics. We got to get the origin story here at the beginning of the stream, because I know there's like a video game element to how you got into like the creative space. So we would love to hear about that. Just give us like the intro. Give us the intro to Bailey.
All right. So if nobody's seen me like yet, like I was on like Black Series Cantina and also Figure Ball. But if you don't, like, my name's Bailey. I've been sculpting at Hasbro since actually 2019 is when I got started there as a temp. Even before like that, my background was in video game development and just like art in general. And my focus primarily on that was character art. Because my goal really when I decided like at the age of 12 I wanted to go into the entertainment in the video game industry. So I kind of equipped myself with sculpting classes and anime classes, just try and get to, because ultimately I wanted to be a character artist for Naughty Dog. That's to this day is still my favorite video game company right now. I've grown up with all like their games from Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, Last of Us, and I just love everything that they do. And I've always wanted to aspire to be like that. So that's kind of my background. Where all throughout college, I went to this college in Savannah, Georgia, called the Savannah College of Art and Design, where my major was. It was called like ITGM, but it really is video game development. And that was just kind of, I equipped myself with programming knowledge, a game design like knowledge, and then obviously bolster up my already existing game art knowledge with characters in particular. And then upon graduation, one of my professors, sculpting professors that is, he had a really good relationship with Hasbro. He's like, hey, I know that this isn't video games, but I think you might be a good fit. So then he sent my portfolio over to them. I really didn't see a career for myself in toys because I was always of the mindset where, one of the reasons why I want to be a character artist in games is because you can cheat a lot in digital. Like there's no whole lot of engineering or anything that goes into any of that stuff. And any sort of engineering and just kind of that degree of mathematics always was very intimidating to me. So it was never really on my radar as far as the possibility goes, because I hate the stereotype like, oh, I'm an artist, I don't do math type of thing, but it's a thing where you do obviously in all aspects of your life use math to various degrees, but all that to say that on that first interview with Hasbro, the team there is amazing. They were able to answer a lot of my questions I had on the spots. So one of my concerns from the jump was, if I accept this temp position, does that kind of almost pigeonhole me to only do toys or what have you? And they actually name dropped a lot of people in the video game industry that I looked up to, that they also had vendors with them, and like that kind of rapport with them too. So that kind of resonated with me at a time where okay, this is cool. The fact that these people, because it's always under the umbrella of entertainment industry, right? That's video games, that's toys, movies, television, etc. So the fact that they were, for one, very eager to work with me, which did resonate a lot with me, and then also to the fact that they were like name dropping like some really prominent figures in the video game industry. I'm like, okay, this might be a decent job. So I accepted the role and then moved out to Rhode Island in early 2019. I was it was only for like a year-long contract thing. So my contract concluded February 2020, and then as we all know, the pandemic hit the month after. And then I was just kind of freelancing at that point, and then got hired on again full-time for a hybrid role, doing like digital R&D, and then a little bit of sculpting here and there, but not a whole lot in early 2021. Halfway through that contract, I got promoted to full-time, and that's when I started to work on Indiana Jones and Black Series with Tom. And if nobody here knows Tom, he's been on the live streams as of late, and he's getting a lot more kudos, which I'm glad. He's for a while like there, he's kind of like an unsung hero because he just does so much for like the brand, and I'm glad that he's actually out there in the public space now a lot more. But I worked really much like on a daily basis with Tom, with Eric, Brandon, and a few like other members of the team too. And then so halfway through like 2021, got promoted to like that. I was doing like all of that stuff, and not only like Star Wars Black Series, I was doing honestly 5 different things at the same time too, which at the end of every single day, your mind is just kind of fatigued in that way because it's just you have to toss between programming, sculpting, managing, design work. There's a lot of different disciplines I had to kind of ebb and flow with, and it was just I learned a lot, but it was just very tiring. But so I did that for about 4 years because fast forward to 2025, I was like laid off in June of that year. And since then, I've just been doing like freelance work for Hasbro. I'm starting to do a little bit more stuff for Disney as well. I've also got some other stuff I'm working on that I'm really excited about. So hopefully later this year, I'll be a little bit more public with that. But yeah, I mean, really at this point in time, I've just been focusing on sculpture, and it's been a while since I've been able to do that. And it's amazing. Like sculpture is my first love. I mean, I love everything else when it comes to R&D, coming up with different like workflows for how you do things, but sculpture is like really just therapeutic for me. I just kind of almost fall into like a flow state every single time I start sculpting, and it's it's just a really great joy of mine to still be a part of like this development just in a different way. So that's kind of my origin story, where it started in like my interest in video games, where I did like little stuff here and there, and then college, and then with like Hasbro, and just kind of really exercising what I thought was a weakness of mine and made it a strength with like engineering and everything. So it's I take a lot of pride in that. So
yeah, it's interesting you bring up the layoff, which if we bring up anything that you can't or won't want to talk about, just let us know. Obviously, we can just move on. But that's kind of like the notorious, like that's kind of when we discovered you is
a lot of people did, it was just like,
the notorious reveal of what is literally the greatest item in the Black Series. And was it the next day after the reveal?
Yeah, it was like so we revealed everything. I want to say it was Friday. So I was riding an entire high that entire weekend. Then fast forward to Monday, I get the notice that I'm laid off. I'm like, oh, this hurts, but this is weird. But it was such a weird thing because it's like it's literally a roller coaster ride where this was literally the highest high of sorts because myself and a few like other people, we were wanting like a Mustafar set for years. Like I was like always beating that drum because I'm a big F3 person. Like this sequence right here, my favorite in all of Star Wars. You can say what you want about the prequels, but like this sequence with like Obi-Wan and Anakin, it just to me it is like the pinnacle of Star Wars. Like nothing more has resonated with me more than this sequence. So to be a part of this and to actually see it to come to fruition, because a lot of stuff dies on the vine all the time, and the fact that we were able to pull this off at the scale that we did, with the quality that we did, a ton of pride was had with like that. And also, obviously, when everybody else in the community was just like hyped over it too. I mean, that was an amazing moment because I think I talked about this on Figureball, so excuse me if I'm repeating myself, but I think that it bears repeating because when they were doing like that reveal, and Brandon, I think like Tom was on there too. They were rolling out every single item or piece by piece, and they're just kind of getting better and better. And it was a thing where I was just like, guys, just wait, because every single time someone was revealed, just like, oh, it's getting better and better. Just like, wait, we got more. So, but with my work setup, I've got like my main like laptop, my Cintiq, and then like I've got like my external monitor for reference and everything like that too. So I had like the basement Discord pulled up here. I had like the Figureball live stream pulled up here, and then I had like that official Hasbro live stream pulled up here. I was watching everything in real time, just people just kind of going bananas over everything, and it was just that was like a moment where I will cherish it for the rest of my life because so much of I guess passion went into like this, not only for me but for the entire team. And the fact that we were able to pull it off was amazing. Just to kind of see like the reception that it had. I mean, that was just icing on the cake because I think I was watching a Luke This Monster video where he had said that what his ideal Mustafar set would be this. And when I watched that, and I knew that our offering was going to be bigger than even what he thought were going to be stretch goals. I'm like, okay, this is going to be amazing. So because I don't think anybody had the droid platform on like their bingo card for a Mustafar set. If anything, a bigger platform, but the fact that we're able to do like that, interchangeable blades, alternate hands, and everything like that too. I mean, it's just, again, it's one of the sets where I was funny enough, I was talking to Brandon like the night before like the layoff, and I told him too, I'm just, I'll be excited for all future offerings of Black Series, but I don't know if they'll get any better for me than this set because of what it means to me. And the fact that the layoff came like the next day, I'm just like, man, did I just like jinx myself a little bit, just a little bit? But no, it's so yeah. When the layoff happened like that, obviously hurt a lot because of how high that high was. But as the saying goes, like time heals like all wounds. Like I'm more removed from it to where like I've got no ill will towards anyone. Like I said, I'm still working actively with the team and everything like that too. So I mean, I've got nothing but love for all of them. So I'm just glad to be still doing it. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's so remarkable because that set blew all of our expectations out of the water. And like you said, I would never have expected to get the platform, even the one that Anakin stands on, like the smaller droid platform. I would not have expected to get that. And it's an amazing set. So you also... you are more known for sculpting the heads,
yes,
with the faces and everything, and it's funny because you brought this up on Figure Ball, I think it was, or maybe it was Black Series Cantina, but it was a good friend of ours, Rebel Scum Photography. He did our toy photography for the Black Series Awards, and you said that the image that he based it on was like one of the images that you based this sculpt on.
Yep. Yeah, it was like a one where like Anakin was in like one of like the buildings on Coruscant. It wasn't an action like scene or anything like that, but just like the lighting, everything. I knew exactly like the picture that he was referencing because I had like that that I was working from as well. So it's cool to kind of see that almost like full circle moment of like where the toy becomes the reference in that way too. And I just thought like how like they like match like the frame of like the action with the lens and the lighting. Just remarkable work. The toy photographers out there in this community are incredible. Like I didn't even know toy photography existed like to this extent, prior to working with Hasbro. But I mean, they're doing amazing work. So hats off to all you guys. So,
all right. So I'm just gonna have this slideshow going because I know people are gonna be curious on what figures you've specifically worked on. So I made a little slideshow, but. Just to ask you questions specifically about like the sculpting process, it's such like a controversial thing in general. Like a head sculpt can make or break a figure. Yes. So like, especially like with photoreal, and I know I specifically eventually want to ask you about Mark Hamill and why that's just like the greatest mystery of the world. But is it easier to sculpt like a live action person? Because I know like Black Series does the thing where if it's an animated character, they try to like make it as if it existed in live action.
Right.
Have you done any of those? Like Kyle Katarn is a good example.
Yeah, so Kyle Katarn was like a weird like hybrid of sorts. Quinlan was actually a good one where I was just kind of almost like doing freestyle sculpture, which again it's really rare because most of the time we do get like the live action reference that we have to kind of follow to the T. But with like a character like Quinlan, where obviously there's like a live action like reference in that way, but we don't have like rights or anything like that, at least at that point in time. So I was just kind of taking like the animated reference and just seeing like how I would interpret that in realism. But for like live action figures, it's got its own host of challenges because obviously everybody knows like this like particular character, and if this character is very, very beloved, like like a Luke Skywalker, people are going to be a lot more critical with that. So it's a thing too where there's a lot of stuff that can just a fraction of a millimeter with the inkjet application can make or break a figure's portrait too. So there's like a lot of lightning in the bottle that does happen with a lot of this stuff. And we go through several different stages of checks with manufacturing. Probably I want to say 4 or 5 stages. And sometimes if I actually showed you like a first application inkjet to where it landed, you might say it's a different head sculpt because it is like that different sometimes.
Yeah, how does the photoreal inkjet work if you are like, say like you sculpt the head?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is another thing in the Black Series, especially in like Red and Black Box era, where like pre-photoreal, where we've seen repaints of like the Oscar Isaac head, and it's like, oh, the sculpt is there. It's just that this was hand painted. How does the photoreal work if you're sculpting the head? Who like designs the dot matrix like face that gets sprayed on it?
Yeah, so that's like more so like a little bit of Eric's like department, where like he's handling the deco sheets and stuff like that too.
Speaking of Eric,
yeah,
so, it's so funny that's kind of like what the community looks at like is Eric's figure, because it's a thing too where like we didn't have rights to the actor like likeness, so we were just sourcing every like live action concept art thing and just kind of creating like a through line with all like that, and then I guess that's just Eric. So
yeah. He's not only a Hoth rebel soldier, he's also Kyle Katarn now.
Which the Hoth rebel soldier, that one's actually true, right? That one is actually supposed to be Eric.
I honestly don't know, and that's me not being like any sort of like any which way about it. Like I honestly don't like know, because
go ahead and call him real quick.
I swear I heard them say that in a stream at one point or another. I was like, huh?
I feel like that was definitely maybe a thing. Definitely maybe.
Yeah, if it was like, I didn't really hear any chatter around like that over the years I worked there, so I'm not sure. Like I'll probably ask him like and be like, hey, was this serious or not? But
yeah,
I don't really know at that time. But I mean, there are a lot of things that too where again, like the likeness is such a subjective thing in some ways too, where some people can be like, oh yeah, it looks like this person, and other people can be like, oh, it looks like this person. Like I also had said, like I want to say it was maybe on Figure Ball where I was doing a sculpt of Olivia Wilde for the Tron series, or like the Tron line, and I even like the reference. There's a 3/4 shot of her where she looks like Margot Robbie. I'm like, that's weird.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of things too, where like the lighting, how much like makeup like the person has on like their face, lens angle, and like just like the kind of difference in distortion and perspective with like that too can throw things off as well. So there's a ton of stuff that you need to kind of factor to just get almost like the through line of like what all these 2D references are in 3D. And in some cases, like it's hard. In other cases, it's pretty easy. But for the actors that don't have any like sort of reference, or who are, let's say, smaller names in general, those people are hard to kind of do portraits for, because you only have maybe 2 or 3 angles, and then you have like the reference that maybe Lucasfilm would send you. But those are very situational as well, where they'll only give you like one perspective, and like a full turnaround of sorts. But yeah, so it varies.
I was gonna ask you as well, because looking at Barris made me think of this. How does this work when it's like older media? Like this is a live action look. This is not, I'm going to say it's safe to say this is not any Clone Wars inspiration at all. This to me looks like a completely live action. So like, how does that work? Are they specifically sending you stuff, or do you seek it out yourself, or do you, I don't know, watch the movie, or?
Yeah, both primarily.
Okay.
So we'll get like certain references from Lucasfilm, which they might be a little bit more telling. Like if we've got like, let's say Barris without her hood, okay, that's telling more of like the skull shape. I'll also like do like research and seek out like the actor or actress's like, name as well, and just kind of see if there's any like other photos I can derive. Because if I can find an awesome side view, like a dead on side view, and then like maybe a front view and then a 3/4 view, those are like the kind of Barris and just that I need. If I can find like a head view of like where like they're looking up towards the sky, so where I can kind of see what their nostril shape might be, and like also maybe have like a head tilted down, just so I can kind of get a better sense of the forms of the nose. That's even better, because if you don't have all like the reference, you kind of have to fill in the gaps a lot of times too. And when that happens, that's when you have a lot of bigger tendencies to miss the likeness, because there's a lot more to the story of the face than just like those 3 perspectives. So you really are a detective in a lot of cases too, because there's only so much reference that Lucasfilm has on reference as well. So a lot of times, like you are kind of supplementing between movies, between actually searching on like the actors and actresses, seeing what kind of other things they've appeared in to try and get that better angle of their head. So.
So, and then sorry, Nate. I know I just keep talking.
No, you're fine.
If you have any question, I just like I got a bunch in my head. So like I know oh gosh, his name, Miggs Mayfeld. What is, he's like
Bill
a big,
Burr.
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. Mm-hmm.
He said that, he was on some talk show talking about like, yeah, they scanned my face and everything. Do you know like when that started to become a thing?
Honestly, no, because we also have gotten scan data from EP3, which is kind of like, it's not the best scan data, but like here's the thing. So like the scan data quality varies, at least back in like those days where, so just for like a little bit more behind the scenes like stuff. So for the most recent like Sidious and Mace pack that came out, those were just scans, but they were good scans. Like I only had to like touch up a few things, like Mace's like skull like back here was just like caved in slightly, so I just like took our old Mace head and projected like that on like there to make it consistent. But I mean that scan was like really clean. And then with like the Ian McDermott like Palpatine like head, that was just another scan where I just had to resculpt the hair because obviously it's not gonna, the scan's not gonna pick up all like the different hair strands and stuff. But when it comes to like the features and everything, I just kind of had to smooth out like the scanning data artifacts, and I mean everything else was pretty good. Wow. No, there's some scan data that's like kind of wonky. Like so the EP3 Anakin head that I worked on, like the scan for like that was like weird because his face looked a lot more wide than in like the movie. So I did taper his jawline a lot more than what the scan was, and even like then I still feel like I could have brought in a little bit more. But that's another thing too that's kind of hard, where it's like how much do you weigh the scan as like the end all be all versus like what you're actually perceiving in the film and what other fans have perceived in the film too. Because there's like that almost kind of confirmation bias of sorts where you almost want to kind of, I don't want to say make a caricature of the person's face, but you can just kind of want to elevate it slightly so you can kind of confirm that, oh yeah, like Anakin's got like a more kind of slender like chin, he might have like a little bit more like pronounced like eyelids type of thing. So I did take a little bit of like those liberties as well because like I said, the scan was like I kept going back and forth. I'm like, his jaw isn't this broad, so what's happening with the scan? And then hopping on a call with Tom, and that's when he told me that the technology that they had back in the day was almost like long exposure photography, where they do a scan, and there's actually like waves in like Anakin's like face too. So right then and there, I'm like, this doesn't feel correct. There's like actually like wave deformations in the face too, and essentially what it is, it's like those old kind of like almost like ancient artifact scans, was just a single line that goes like this way, like so slow to scan like the person's face. And if there's like any sort of movement this way, that scan's gonna get like that. Or if there's any like sort of like stuff like this way, there's gonna be like waves in like their face. So with the Samuel Jackson and Ian McDermott scans, they must have just been super just like kind of what's one look for still. Whereas like maybe Hayden was a little bit more kind of like action, or he fidgety maybe, but
he was a little jittery in the. Yeah, it's kind of reminded me of the selfie series, like when you had to like hold the camera in front of your face and like do like the side profile.
Yeah, so it's again it's a weird thing too, where and sometimes like the scan data that we get, if we do get it, it's much better like these days obviously, but a lot of things too, like we'll get like reference, they'll just be like CG models of the stuff, and those can be super off too, based off of comparing the scan to like the reference that we get from Lucasfilm. So that stuff is like, okay, which one do you weigh as like the end all be all? So there's a lot of kind of using CG models that Lucasfilm has, using scans that they have, using reference that they give us, but also supplementing other reference on top of that too, just to try and again paint a fuller picture of what this is. And that does lead to a lot of kind of time on the turnaround time for that stuff too. But again, I rest this idea where I'd much rather spend a day collecting reference than getting into the sculpt too quick, because if I get into the sculpt too quick, at that point in time I become more emotionally invested in it, to where I'd be less likely to make changes that need to be made in order to make this a better likeness of sorts. So I'll just put my detect pad on, make sure I have an entire turn sheet, like trying to get like this actor or actress's head in every single perspective that I can, and then start the sculpt from that jump, because that's a much better point to jump from, versus like not having really anything, just kind of guessing, and then having to rework stuff after you find more reference or get more reference. So I do a lot of like time just on collecting referencing before starting the sculpt. So that's honestly 50% of like the battle, in my opinion, is getting good reference. So
sweet. Were you about to say something, Nate?
I was just gonna say, so what's the deal with Mark Hamill?
Yeah.
So I think that I talked about this briefly on like on Figure Ball, or I probably talked about on Cantina as well. But like the thing about Mark Hamill is there's, I think, Honestly, since Luke Skywalker is such a beloved character, I think, and also too, like when we talk about Star Wars gave rise to an entire industry, right? Like we've got creatives who were inspired by Star Wars who decided to become, makeup artists, CG like artists and stuff of that nature too. So I think that when it comes to Mark Hamill's likeness, there's just a lot of, again, I think like there's a little bit of like almost like a confirmation bias of sorts where you have a very painted picture of what Luke Skywalker looks like in your mind, but that might not be true for actually how Mark Hamill looks. And that also can probably deviate from how other people perceive Mark Hamill or Luke Skywalker in that way too. So I think that, again, going back to the whole emotional investment of it all, where you're less likely to make those harder changes that are necessary, I think that's where you do kind of see a lot of artists sink into that trap because they want to create a more idealized like Luke. But I mean, if you actually look at people's faces and actually see the scans, especially, we are very asymmetrical in the face. Like we are not idealized at all. So I think that playing into those levels of realism also will help in the likeness too. I know that Mark Hamill, his face obviously changes between Star Wars and Empire, but I think that again, just playing into what makes that person unique with their features rather than trying to idealize them would be better served in how you get a better likeness. So I think it really just goes back to the fact that, and also there could be the added pressure of oh, I'm sculpting Luke Skywalker. People are going to judge it, harshly. So I need to make him more idealized or whatever that may be. Whereas for me, I come at it from a different vantage point where I just want to try and create as close to who the actor looks like in that way. Where because for me, and I discovered this very early on in myself, where stress shuts me down. So I do quiet that a lot because at the end of the day, we're all aligned in the fact that I want to create an awesome sculpt, and you guys want to have an awesome sculpt in your collection. So we are unified in that goal. So I always kind of lead with that mode of thought where I just need to kind of take myself out of it, just sculpt what I'm seeing here, and make sure that I'm critical with myself to again to where I'm putting forth the best product that I can in that way too. And you do have to kind of have, it's a little bit of a balance act where you have to be enthused or passionate enough to really show up and work hard, but at the same point you don't want to become overly so to where you're not willing to make those harder calls to make something look better, because there's a lot of artists too where they do have a very kind of I guess you can maybe say an ego, but there's other things too where it's just so much of yourself to where any sort of criticism that is leveled against it almost feels like a personal attack in a lot of ways, where again, going through art school, it really does train that out of you, because you always have to be looking at your stuff critically, not necessarily to dog on it, but always look at stuff with a critical eye, recognize that it can be better and how you can be better for the next thing. So I've always been pretty regimented with that mode of thought, and again, I think it's served me well. I've really increased my abilities as a sculptor, especially with my turnaround times. Some of the sculpts I've had to turn around the day of. It's kind of crazy in some ways, whereas and obviously it's much better if I can get at least a week or two to work on a head. But if that's not the case, I kind of have to see, okay, where can I cut corners? And sometimes I'll even have a priority list of sorts of okay, if all else fails, I need to at least address this. And I'll actually kind of document parts of the face. If we talk about portraiture in particular, I'll document parts of the face that I'm okay, I need to change the inner corner of the eyelid because that's breaking the likeness the most. And then I'll just kind of jot down everything here and there. And then the last thing will be I need to increase this hair strand over here because it's getting too muddy. That'll be the last on the priority list. So just things like that. If I do have to kind of crunch in that way, I'll kind of literally write out a list of priorities of what I think would be best served with my time and just go from there. So I think that, sorry, that was a little bit of a rant to answer the question. Why did Skywalker?
No, you're good.
That kind of does answer it, where I think that it's just people who really can't be critical because of the character is so beloved in that way. So,
Well, I can confidently say that you are a great sculptor, and that's not just blowing smoke either, because before we even knew of you, in our content, we have legitimately said photoreal is getting better. Look how good, the Quinlan in particular. Let me get out of this.
Yeah, Quinlan came out awesome.
Really Quinlan in particular, and this was before I knew of you, because I know people are going to say, he's just glazing him because he's on your stream. Before I even knew who you were, there is footage of me somewhere of me saying, this might be the best photoreal application I've ever seen, because it just looks photorealistic
Yeah, and that's kind of, again, it's a two-part thing where, the inkjet, in my opinion, it does a lot of, like, the lifting there as well. But also, if you have an awesome sculpt and an awesome inkjet coming together, you'll get an awesome portrait. Whereas like we've seen with, like, with figures like Poe, if the inkjet is just like misaligned or like just like not there, it can, no matter like how good like the sculpt looks, the inkjet can, like, because the inkjet's honestly what you see first because it's additive on top of the sculpt. It's kind of like, I use like this analogy, I think on figure ball, but if we look at, like, the importance of the inkjet versus sculptor. Granted, both are important, but I'd actually argue, and I say this as a sculptor, that the inkjet is almost like more important because if you look at any sort of picture, if I were to take a picture of like you, Nate, or you, Justin, and print that out, sculpturally speaking, that's just a plane. There's no information whatsoever, but I can still tell it's you just because if it's your face is printed on this flat plane of sorts. So I think that the same is true for a lot of inkjet stuff too. Where like if you've got stuff that's like misaligned or whatever. Sculpt, I mean, you're going to see the stuff that's a little bit more explicitly called out with the eyebrows and what have you, versus like the kind of more subtle stuff of like the mold or the molded plastic in that way too. But Quinlan, I think, is an instance where we kind of hit everything on the head. And like I said too, it's kind of interesting, and honestly, I think it's kind of awesome that I think I do recall like that video where you said it's like one of the most realistic heads in the line, which is funny because this was not based on any sort of realistic actor, just kind of me freestyling in the moment, be like, oh
yeah,
Quinlan would look like this if he were in episode 3 or whatever.
Which is interesting because he technically is in Phantom Menace, like
true, technically, yes, yeah. The actors in Phantom Menace, but like, yeah, we can't use like that actors like this at all. So that's when like Tom came to me. It's like, hey, just kind of do your thing, just freestyle and see what you can come up with. And that's the other thing too that I loved working with the team on is they always gave me a good amount of agency to kind of just express myself. Like there's no like explicit like, hey, you need to do like this, that, and the other. It was really just like in turnaround times that we need to have this done by this date, more or less. But I was given like a lot of kind of leeway to leave my mark on certain things, and Quinlan is another good example of that too. So that face was just fun to sculpt because again, I was just looking at like a bunch of different actors where I'm like, oh, I'll take like this person's like nose, this person's like cheek, this person's chin, and just kind of see what happens here, and then I'll modify it as one cohesive whole after the fact. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm. So, just to answer some of these specific questions in chat, I've seen some people repeating themselves, but I wanted to talk about this as well because, and you messaged me in your list of figures, you said you like re-engineered the hips on some of the modern Mandos. So it got me thinking like, you do things other than head sculpts as well, right? Because I'm just reminded here in this comment of the toe hinges, the controversial toe hinges on the Boba Fett.
Yeah, so like a lot of times too, and like granted, like when you're like a full-time employee at Hasbro, you primarily do like a lot of touch-up work just because you only have time to do like that. I mean, because if you look at the amount of product that we like pump out, like it's really just like you're managing most of it, and then if you need to bring something in to touch it up, because it'll be like a little bit quicker than having to articulate any of that stuff to an outside vendor. At that point in time, that's like what you have to do. But yeah, so we do get like a lot of like leeway when it comes to engineering. Like we are. Like with the Sculpt team, we are the engineers that do kick things off. So we'll get like the live action reference from Lucasfilm, and it's really up to us like how we want to plan the part breaks across like that figure where we think they would be the most natural. And we do work with manufacturing after the fact to where we're abiding by QA tests. So we've got things that we have to succeed at, such as like a pull test, which a lot of times. So the reason why I bring up the pull test is because that's actually one of the reasons why some articulation can be really limiting, especially if it's a ball joint, because it's not secured down. And since we still do have that 4+ rating on Black Series, like there's a certain pull test that we have to succeed. So, and I also brought like this up in, I want to say figure ball, but I've got a SHF cooler, which that thing is awesome range, but the entire arm, I can just do like this and it pulls out because the cavity, there's not enough undercut for the ball joint to remain intact securely. So that's why if the cooler ever does a shelf dive, he's becoming like a Lego just splitting apart. Which so it's kind of like, push and pull of sorts where, yes, you'll get more range, but when it comes to durability, we do have to also satisfy that as well. So that's why for us as sculptors, we are kind of unique in the fact that we do handle the beginning engineering and the aesthetic all in one, because a lot of times other companies will be segmented and the product will suffer for it, because you've got artists who are only caring about the aesthetic and then engineers who just want to make it work, and that's about it. And that's just, they just buy work. I mean, they just want to be able to pull from the mold without damaging or leaving scrap in that way too. But thankfully, like we've created our own workflow to where we are the people who do kick off everything when it comes to engineering. Obviously, we have like a lot of help from our outside vendors, so we'll compose a sheet of what the part bricks of this figure will be, kick off with a vendor that'll handle a bulk of it, and then we'll bring in, do touch-up work, and then just bring it to the next level in that way too. And that's kind of the process with that. So we do handle a ton of engineering, and that's another thing too that when I got on Tron, I was like the only sculpt manager for like that. So I was we're pretty much shadowing Tom for those 3.5 to 4 years, and then Tron was like kind of my ultimate test, like being my own sculpt manager, and how I had to just think about engineering and go through like all of their different parameters too. It gave me a lot more just like awe of what Tom does, because there's a lot of consideration that goes into this stuff. So all that to say, I do handle all aspects of toy design and engineering, but my specialty is pretty much like portraiture, just because like that's pretty much what I got started even before toy sculpting. Is like I said, I wanted to be a character artist for Naughty Dog, and that's a really high bar to kind of set for yourself. So I always wanted to be like, oh, I need to sculpt, be able to sculpt a likeness, because if not, Naughty Dog's not going to look at me any which way. So yeah, so that's I also enjoy portraiture probably the most, just because it's always fun. It's always a challenge too. No matter like how many portraits you do, you'll get like a portrait of like one person, and it'll completely throw you through a loop. Like I said, the Olivia Wilde portrait, like I looked at 3/4, and like she didn't look like Olivia Wilde. She looked like Margot Robbie. I'm like, how does this work? This doesn't make any sense. But here we are. So I mean, it's yeah. So I handle pretty much all aspects of that, save for like deco and everything like that though. So
yeah, that kind of relates to Jayhawk's question here about like what factors play into the time it takes and what contributes to a quick turnaround on one figure versus another. This kind of playing off that, like, has there ever been an example of like a character you get, because I'm assuming you just get like assigned a character and they're like, here, make this character. Like, has there ever been one where you're like, oh boy, this one's going to be tough?
Yeah, I can't say right now about like any particular character, but like there have been moments where I'm like again, shout out to Tom. He works with me so well, because there's times where I'm like, okay, it'll take me this long, and sometimes it'll take me longer. I'm just like, I'm so sorry, but like it just needs, if we can afford that little bit of like leniency, I can make it this much better. Like obviously there's like a push and pull with like that too, where you could hit diminishing returns of sorts, but I've kind of developed a good kind of rapport with like Tom, to where like I can like work a little bit more on certain things, and it's a thing too where he'll let me know at the forefront, like, hey, I need like this in a couple of days, and at that point in time I'm like, okay, he's pressed, like I'll just do like this as best I can and send it in. But then for other characters too, I'm just like, okay, this is gonna be a little bit more involved than I thought. Can I turn it into like at this day, and then we can kind of talk about it at that point. But so it is kind of flexible to a certain degree, but like a lot of times too, at the end of the day, it's business. There are deadlines that you have to hit, regardless of if you're happy with the quality or not. So I just try and do like, again, my best to make sure that's quality before I send it to Tom, because the other thing too is like if you send stuff in too early, it's going to put more time on the manager to kind of redline or give you feedback. So I'd rather kind of take it to as far as I can take it, and then show it to Tom. If he's getting comments, I can like address like those versus having to go through 8 different rounds of like comments with him, because I know that's going to, because I'm only one vendor that he deals with. He's got a bunch of other vendors that he's been with on top of with meetings and everything else too. So I just like to try and take as much of that off of him as possible. So again, it's just one of the things where that's pretty much how like the makeup is as an outside freelancer. Now, when I was full time, again, be more in like the like Tom's position, where I would have to kick off sculpts with a bunch of different vendors. Pretty much contact them maybe once or twice, maybe a couple times over the course of a week, to just kind of see where they're at with certain things. Because the last thing I want is for them to go like radio silent, to essentially not have any work done on that sculpt. So I do kind of check in with vendors in that way, on Tron in particular, and to make sure that we're hitting schedule, because that one we had very specific deadlines for, and I was able to get stuff done a little bit early too. So that was, like I said, the Tron like line for 3 3/4 and the 4 6-inch, it was probably the hardest thing I've done at Hasbro, because there's so many facets to managing stuff that I didn't have a whole lot of well, at least on the collector level line, because I managed a few waves of Bounty Collection, managed a few waves of like Epic Hero. Maybe I want to say on wave 3 or 4 after like they had already kicked that off with manufacturing, and then Yeah, I did like a few things with like some kid brands too with Star Wars. Like I did like a Kai Brightstar sculpt, and like I actually sculpted that one from scratch. Yeah, while I was full time. But then there are a few like other vendors that we worked with on that too. So it's really just kind of organizing time at the end of the day, and just kind of going from like that. So it's yeah. But again, we've got line plans, we've got deadlines. So it's really just like, okay, how do I want to plan this to ensure that's quality? And obviously stuff can fall to the wayside because there's just so much that we do. But I'll just say that it's a big balancing act. We always equate to being an expert juggler where you're doing a bunch of different things at any given time. But you need to be proficient, because if not, you'll literally just drop everything and just collapse. So, but yeah. Well, I have to say that I'm glad where I'm at right now. I get to focus on sculpture. That's it. So,
so who would be easier to do a face sculpt on, me or Nate?
Ooh,
I've had this one in the chamber. I knew I had to ask this.
Honestly, both of you would be pretty easy because of facial hair. You can hide a lot underneath like facial hair. So
you got more facial hair than me, bro.
Yeah, so I think that maybe like Justin would be easier just because like there's like more coverage. But like there's so many like times where facial hair was a saving grace for me for a really tight deadline. Where I'm like, oh, so much of the structure can be like saved by just having the beard here, and that's great. So yeah,
nice.
So I'd say like both like your face are pretty easy because like there's like a good bit of forgiveness with that. Now with me on the other hand, this is like 2 months of work right here, so I've got no chance.
Now you know why. That's why I grow out my beard, Nate. Nobody can tell how sharp my jawline is. It could be really sharp under there. You just don't know.
Yeah, right.
But we'll never know. Yeah. Pletho brings up something interesting, and to kind of leave face sculpts for a little bit, and just talk about like more general Black Series stuff, because this is a great comment from Pletho. They say, I prefer Black Series single hinges over, for example, Marvel Legends double hinges or double joints, but so many people short circuit 2 to 1. TBS is regressing. How do you think about balancing POA range and aesthetics? And I gotta ask how you feel about thigh swivel and the removal of thigh swivel these past few years.
Right. So with thigh swivel in particular, it's one of the things where like we led with really good intentions. It's just, again, going back to the fact that we do have to, and we didn't know like this like going forward, but like there are like pull tests that we have to satisfy. So that cavity did get closed up a lot from the original digital model that we had spec'd out. And that's, kind of going back to the whole idea, like, the Mando stuff that we just released. I remember I went into the office February of last year, and Tom came into like the office and he just like asked like how I thought about thigh swivel. I'm like, it could be better, because I thought we were getting a lot more, too much mileage out of like the rotation at the knee, because that just doesn't look natural in my opinion. So
my guy.
So he like knew that I felt like that way. So he's like, okay, here's what I'll have you do. But see if you can come up with another solution for thigh swivel. So I did that, and they worked with manufacturing, and I was glad to see that made it into the Mando. Again, I think that I don't actually have like any like the new Mandos on hand to actually test that out, but based off of, again, the common practices and just knowing every lesson I learned from the Tron line of what the kind of I guess limitations are to manufacturing all the tests they need to satisfy, I was able to come up with a simple solution that was better than our current one. So hopefully like they'll do like that going forward. But again, you never know. Sometimes stuff can change all the time with like manufacturing teams and what they deem as acceptable and not. So, but my thing is just like I want to have something that looks natural. So I think that in all honesty, if we can't make like that like other new thing the standard, I'd say it would be best served, in my opinion, to go towards almost like a import style articulation, where I think like Coffee had said like this at one point, but having the more sphere nested inside like the quadricep aids in a little bit more like that better aesthetic. And like there's a Juggernaut Gamerverse figure that Hasbro came out with, I want to say a couple months ago, where on first view I couldn't tell that there was a part break there, because they essentially used the muscles of the quadricep to hide the part break. And they were able to still get really good like range of motion, because it's two separate pieces that you're able to swivel on that flat plane. So I think that ultimately that would be the best solution. But again, I know like that part counts being like what they are, it gets a little bit weird in that way. But I think that just speaking from like a consumer standpoint, I would like to just kind of see because I'm always about like if you can balance form and function, that's the name of the game. Like, that's what I as a sculptor always aim for, just trying to hide all that stuff as much as possible without sacrificing a lot of range of motion. So if you can like take things like padding on like pants or folds on pants or really bulked out like characters like Juggernaut and use like the musculature to hide like that part break in a natural way, that would probably be like the best course going forward. But again, I think that if they can make like the new like Mando articulation with the thigh work, I think that's totally fine too. Because essentially all I need is to at least get 45 degrees range of outward for like that leg to have it be a natural limitation. Because I mean, I'll always do this too, where I'll stand up, I'll just move my body, see like what my range is, right?
Bro, it's so funny you bring that up. Because we're like hardcore. You might know this. We're like hardcore defenders of thigh swivel and wanting, like, I would rather have the line that breaks up the sculpt to get that range, just because I think there are some exceptions like that actually have really decent range with the ball. But I think overall, since 2023, when they kind of started doing that, I would say most don't have that great of range. Right. Some people say to rotate the knee, but like you said, rotating the knee makes no... I mean, you can't rotate your knee. You literally cannot. And we made this video that was like in hardcore defensive thigh swivel, and I literally got up and I was like moving. I was like, see, you can kind of rotate your thigh. Obviously, it's not a complete circle, but like...
Right, and like I said too, like in with what we like want like thigh swivel, like we always kind of saw it as being like you almost kind of split the, I guess, work of that kind of pose between the thigh and the knee a little bit more evenly. Whereas like I said before, I think that we're relying too heavily on the knee to where it's starting to look like you almost got like a broken leg in that way. So I think that ultimately it's just going to be a matter of like trying to finesse like that cavity if they can't do like an additional like part in that way. But again, I think that there's a lot of goodwill that has been established in like the most recent years, where Hasbro's definitely been a lot more in tune with like fans and what they want. And that's, again, I love like how vocal the community is with like the brackets and everything that they do with like what they want out of the Black Series, not only for like character selections, but also what kind of stuff that they want to see happen in the line, with where they want to see it move. I think that Hasbro's being a lot more receptive to like that. So I'd say like always kind of beat like the drum, because you never know what's going to happen in that way too. So but all that to say that I'm kind of with you in the way that I wish like that the normal like thigh swivel was like a bit better, because again, I at least want to have a good maybe 40 degrees of range of flare outwards. Personally, with me, with all the poses I do, I don't need a whole lot of like inward thigh like rotation, because unless the characters do like a really kind of cutesy pose where they're kicking like the leg out to the side, I'm not going to use that a whole lot. So if that's a way that you can kind of almost like bias the cavity towards, maybe you get maybe 2 degrees like inward and then just to get like maybe 5 more degrees outward, that might be a good thing to do. But that's honestly something I always think about too. Like how can we be better? How can we kind of get around these limitations of manufacturing to essentially satisfy all parties that are contributing to this here too? So,
So on a slightly different topic, someone earlier, I think it was not Obi-Wan, they're asking about removable helmets. So that's another like topic that Nate and I are very passionate about on the channel. Like, we are, I would say, very much so against removable helmets, because Black Series is a collector line. And I think just like this recent pickup today is so great. This is literally such a great example of...
I actually worked on that portrait too.
Here we go. Yeah. So we have... What side is it on? This helmet sculpt is so much better than if you were forced into squishing down the hair. And some people were asking about, like, does it kind of suck having to squish, like, really mat down the hair on a figure just to fit that helmet? Like, where do you land on that?
Yeah, so like it's like harder definitely from like a sculpt standpoint. And that's why like there's a lot of kind of I mean, there are even like solutions I've come up with like, for example, like the Chimera that was originally supposed to be a removable helmet. So I actually came up with like an interesting idea for the hair to have it collapse a little bit more. Kind of, you would just carve out more like the underside of the hair, and that will obviously be hidden by the hairstyle. But just kind of carving that away, carving a little bit more of the skull. So when you do put the helmet on, it would collapse without having to sacrifice or having to squish in his hair when the helmet's off. But ultimately, like they decided like a swappable look at the neck, I think it was, which I think is like probably like the better solution, because with what I was putting forth was a little bit more experimental, probably not as confident with seeing if we could do it in production. So it is like better to kind of do like swappable in that way to maintain like that aesthetic. But so I kind of come at it from like two perspectives. Like as a sculptor, it is easier because you don't have to factor in all those different parameters too. And it is like easier to sculpt because I've done like a lot of stuff too where, for example, like there have been like some figures I worked on where I had to scrunch in like the hair a lot. Like I think the Sigourney Weaver was like another one where like that was like another removable helmet where I had to kind of press like the hair as much as possible. Like I spent a good probably 2 days just trying to get like the best middle ground that I could. But even like then, it's like it does lose a good bit of volume there too. So it is a challenge in that way to try and get that to work. You really do have to have essentially like a very short hairstyle to get it to feel right. Because if the character does have a lot of hair, it's just like, okay, man, this is going to be an uphill battle from the start. So I think that for me, I think that it's good to just kind of have a more like that, almost kind of like, I guess, a case by case basis in that way too, where if you do have a character that has very prominent like hairstyles or whatever, just swappable like helmet, and also maybe just for consistency, just having that be the thing going forward. I think that would be probably for the best too. But yeah, I think that again, with what we're seeing like changes in the Black Series, I think that would be a good thing to just kind of at least standardize to a certain point, and it seems like they are kind of doing a little bit more of that stuff. Just kind of again listening to the fans of what they're wanting with like swappable helmets as opposed to removable. So, but as a sculptor, I'd say like it's definitely easier to just kind of sculpt each one in isolation, just kind of swap it like that way too.
Yeah.
But
definitely got to beat the drums on that because in my opinion, there is no plus to a removable helmet. There's one, and that's Wrecker, and you can pose him with the like helmet, how he like wears it on top of his head. That's like the only one where I'm like, okay, there's a pose you can get out of that.
Yeah, and there's also other benefits to it as well. Where like the reason why I like removable helmets is just because you just put it on the figure, like I said, and forget it. Like I'm a person who doesn't like having like any spare plastic or anything like that too. So but again, with like the swappable helmets, you can easily get around like that too, but just adding a little lip to the underside of that stuff and just getting like the character to hold like their helmet or whatever. So I mean, there's ways that you can kind of like satisfy both camps in that way too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not like there's a peg hanging out of Rook's helmet. Like she could hold that.
Yeah, I think that if you just carve out a little bit like stuff around like the lip of the helmet, like the kind of the border, just to give a little bit more like that kind of like C grip action. I think that would be a cool thing to do if you do want to kind of have the helmet posed on the character without actually being on like the character itself. So that's another thing that I always think about, like, okay, how can we make this better? That might be a cool thing to do. We'll see. But it's always a thing where you're always trying to think about how you can be better, how you can add like more value to what's being offered here too. So, but I think that again, going forward, we're starting to see a lot more of Hasbro being receptive to fans. And I think that's a really good thing too. So,
Okay, I'm looking at the Discord right now. There's a bunch, so like I'm sorry to everyone. Like I'm not going to be able to get to the majority of these. We're already an hour in.
No, we're doing every single question and we're not leaving.
Right. I gotta pick out some of my favorites. So shout out to the PO Gamer as well as Midas. They are asking about neutral versus emotional faces. And it's the emotional faces, very few and far between, but they're asking, are head sculpts that show emotion harder to sculpt than a neutral face? Because that is like the majority of the Black Series is kind of just the more neutral face.
Yeah, so I will say doing a likeness portrait with an expression is probably the hardest thing to do as a sculptor. Like it's incredibly hard because you have to maintain the likeness with the expression. And if you have an actor or actress who's very expressive, and you're here to like scan like their like face with like the neutral like with their expressive face, so much of the face deforms. Like it's crazy how much deviation there is between a neutral face and a very expressive face. Like my neutral face, it's like this. My like shock face is like this. Like that's it. Like that jaw. Like my jaw goes like down. I got like there's a lot of different things like underneath the surface at play that you need to account for, and to maintain like that like likeness sculpt, especially if it's like a well-known actor. Very, very hard to do. And then if you combine that with like, again, the inkjet applications, it's like there's even harder. So I think that a lot of times it's like there's a lot of comfort in just relying on just the neutral, because the neutral kind of works in most cases. Like if you're just composing like your character on the shelf, no real scene at play, but just like maybe just in a collection of sorts, it's a decent kind of head to have. Now, if you've got something a little bit more active, like let's say like the Mustafar pack or like the other like dual sets we have, you want to have something a little bit more expressive to tell that story. But again, like all that stuff is like pretty hard. You need to have a good knowledge of anatomy to know like what the skeletal structure is doing, what the muscles are doing, how like the fat deforms with like each expression too. So it's just incredibly hard. And yeah, I've done a bunch of different expressions, and it's always hard.
I was gonna say, have you worked on like a screaming, like something like Star Killer with his like?
Yeah, so I managed like that one, and then I sculpted a little bit of it, and that was an instance where like we had to hit a deadline, and I wish, for me in particular, it still didn't hit that mark I wanted to hit. So because I felt like that we lost the likeness a little bit. Whereas like I thought like the neutral looked awesome. Like I wish the screaming head was a little bit more, looked a little bit more like a Sam Witwer. So. But in terms of like other expressions, most of the stuff I've done is like pretty subtle. Like I said, like the Mustafar pack, those expressions like are fairly subtle. Like with the Sith head Anakin, I literally just kind of tightened his like lips, increased or widened his like eyes a little bit, and like furrowed his brow, and that was about it. So not a whole lot like done with that from like the base head. I actually did do another sculpt recently, which I can't talk about, but there's some fun stuff I've gotten to work on as a freelancer that again I'm getting back into only focusing on sculpting, and I've probably done some of my best work in the past like probably 6 months. So I'm happy and excited to kind of see what everybody thinks of it at that point in time. But yeah, when I was doing like full time at Hasbro, I didn't really work on a whole lot of crazy expressions, at least off of memory. Most of them were just like the neutral heads for the most part. I think Star Killer was the craziest one that I got to like work on a little bit here and there. And then yeah, everything else was kind of like subtle neutral. Like Shizor, I think has like a little bit of a subtle smirk that I did.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of like a little bit of life to a few like the neutral expressions that I've done, but like yeah, for the most part, just kind of likeness is easier to achieve at the neutral level if you need to have like Lucasfilm or like the actors approve it. That's a little bit more of like an easier thing. The Olivia Wilde portrait, which was another smirk, was another hard one to kind of get right, but that was one that I felt like looked like her in the sculpt, so I was pretty happy with how that one came out. And then yeah, I think really it's just not a whole lot of craziness with the expressions. Again, I think it's one of the things where it's just really hard, and because it's really hard, it takes a lot more time, and because it takes more time, we just don't have the bandwidth to take it on in some cases. But again, I'm not like the main like manager who knows like all like our timelines at this point in time, so I just kind of speculate that might be the case. But again, just speaking from the art perspective, just knowing how long it can take to maintain that likeness and to get the expression registered how you want to, it takes a good bit of time for that quality. And that's why too, like if you have a actor standing there facing that expression, it saves so much time. I mean, I take no shame in using a scan if it's going to like get to that end result that much quicker. Because like I said, at the end of the day, I want to work on awesome stuff, and the community wants to collect awesome stuff. So I mean, I'm totally fine with just having a scan. If it can save hours upon hours of time, I'll use it. So, but a lot of cases we don't get like the scans that are that specific to that expression. So we do kind of have to do a lot of freestyle and a lot of like other reference collecting, and just kind of I got so many anatomy books too that I have within reach where I'm like, okay, I'll flip to like the jaw like bone like page and be like, okay, what was like the jaw like muscle doing here when you have a very shouting expression and stuff like that too. So there's a lot at play here that you'd be amazed of the complexity of something as seemingly simple as like just a part of the jaw of a human skull.
Right.
So, yeah.
When it comes to this like subtle smirks like on Shizor, is that something that is like in your hands, like your creative control, or?
Yeah, so it's to a certain degree. Like so, for something that's a little bit more subtle like that, we have a lot more play. If it was something like, let's say Shizor was doing like a shouting Star Killer expression, that would be a harder sell, especially if it's the only head in that pack. But if you can kind of just add what I call like elevated neutral, where you give them a little bit of character, a little bit of personality. That's kind of a little bit more of a easier pill to swallow, especially again if it's something you only had in the pack. And also too, I think that it writes like that line of like where you could put like this character in a complete like kind of neutral like collection of a bunch of different characters, no scene in particular. But you could also put Shizor on a throne, and then all of a sudden that smart makes sense as well. So
right.
I think that you just have to know a little bit more about the overall character to know if that expression has a lot more play in different scenarios versus, let's say, a character that's always neutral and that you really never do that sort of expression for. So it's just really kind of knowing a little bit of the makeup of the character to have that expression make sense, not only for licensor, but also for the community at large. So
is something like that something that you guys have just like collectively tried to bring into the line more so recently?
I would say so. For me, it's kind of hard because there's never been an explicit conversation about it, but I think that just naturally kind of fell into like let's kind of do like a little bit of fun here. Like let's not have like the 1,000-yard stare just doing that.
I mean,
Jar Jar.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine if like modern,
because like we
modern
feel
day
like,
Jar Jar,
we feel like, and obviously you probably wouldn't be able to answer this, but from the perspective of like the fans, these last couple years especially, it does seem to us that you just have more freedom than previously. And Hero Collections is a friend of the channel, Brandon, of course, and he's I feel like he's kind of hinted at that there's like more positive change happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'll say that like kind of did change over the last like, couple of years. I'm not gonna go into the great detail, but like stuff did change to where we could get some more forums to take risks and to essentially just bring some freshness to everything. And also that was helped by like the writers and actor strikes too. The fact that there was like this massive slowdown on new projects and everything like that too. So there's a lot more kind of, we're bringing a lot of different ideas to the table too. There are a lot of figure selects ideas that we bring to the table. I remember I even had a Kyle Katarn like mock up of like what we could pull different figures parts for to have like that started. So I was kind of beating that drum for Kyle Katarn for a little bit like there too. But yeah, so we'd always come to like the table with like characters that we saw that community wanted, characters that we also as fans wanted for ourselves, and we just kind of would have several means just kind of looking through all that stuff and compiling a list to then bring to upper management in that way too. So there's been a lot more collaboration in that way too, which again, the last like I want to say 2 years I was doing like Black Series stuff, it really did feel like it was changing very much for the better, at least for like a sculptor, just having a little bit more play with what you're able to do. And that's why, again, I've said like this a few like times now, but like next year is going to be amazing. It's like incredible.
Everyone keeps saying it.
I'm so hyped about it.
So what's the first wave of 50th card back figures?
Hey, there he is.
Job, so.
Hey.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
go ahead, Nate. I feel like I've been talking too much.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're asking the same questions I have, so
it's all good. It's always fun to, regardless of if I repeat myself or not. It's always fun to talk about it. So I'm never gonna feel don't feel like bad for asking repeat questions, guys. I love talking about stuff. So
here he goes. Here he goes. I can't wait for 27 nonstop heat.
Honestly,
before I lose it. Obviously, we all know you don't have like unlimited budgets when you guys are making these figures, right. And there are, let's call them sacrifices that need to be made, that every company ever does. So my question has to do with washes in the hair. So like on the topic of head sculpts, like when or how do you guys determine when something like that gets a wash? Like, do you fight for it? Like, this character really needs a wash, or something like? How does that work?
So it's one of the things where like washes again. This is not my department, so again, take what I'm saying with like a grain of salt. But like from what I have like kind of heard a little bit here and there, like washes are fairly expensive because they do involve a little bit more, I guess, labor of sorts in that way, even though that sounds kind of, where it's like, oh, like how involved can a wash be? It's like, well, when you multiply that by like the overall part count or like figure count and then all this other stuff too, it does add up. There's a lot of like kind of manufacturing stuff that I like learned in my last year at Hasbro where I'm like, wow, they document everything, like how many steps they walk to machines, even like it's crazy, like the degree of like granular like kind of time accountants that they have. But you really do have to, because you're not only like working on like Star Wars stuff, you're working on other like brands, maybe other companies too. So I mean, it's like it does add up. So for things like washes, it's just like, if there is like an allowance for it, like that will probably be the thing that they do. There are also like other things too, like from the sculpting end of things that we try and do. We try and increase the depth of the hair strands. So maybe with the lighting, you can kind of fake a little bit like that wash effect. Obviously, like, wash would be better to get like the crevices of everything. But we've also done experimental stuff too, where I pitched out there where if we could do, because I actually saw from like the carbonized line that the details in like those figures were a little bit more better retained because of the kind of metallic properties of it. So I like, come to like the on the table with like, hey, could we try and finesse a little bit with the a matte metallic finish? Obviously not going so far to the degree of like, let's say I think it was like maybe SHF like Farm Boy Luke where it looks like his hair is made out of metal, but can we kind of finesse this a little bit to kind of get a little bit of that depth? And we did do like that on Dash Rendar, so it's like a little bit of a subtle effect. So just get like a little bit of like that sheen to the hair too, because the physical properties of your hair do have a little bit of like that sheen as well. So there are other ways that we try to entertain, like how we can try and get depth without a wash if we can't like afford it. But it is like a thing where there is like a little bit more like labor involved. So that's kind of like a thing that does rule out washes in different ways too. But again, I don't know the exact percentage or amounts, because obviously it does vary by figure. If you got an entire figure that's like weathered, that's going to be an entirely different thing than versus just doing a wash on like a hair piece of this figure. So but yeah, in terms of like cost, I won't be like your go-to like guy for those things, because again, I just know that we do have like obstacles that we have to get around to try and satisfy like that. So I just try and do like that from the sculpting ends, just by trying to ramp up like the depth of the texture as much as possible. So
I love that you brought up carbonized.
Yes,
because this is not it. This text channel in the Discord has been deleted, so it's not like people would be able to look back and find out who you are on Discord. But learning later that was you who said anonymously, the carbonized line was such a great idea, it's overhated, something. I was like, who's this guy waffling in the hot takes chat right now? And then for me to go on my journey here. Of recollecting the first two waves. I will stand by, I don't like the later stuff, but like the earlier carbonized.
Yeah, so I'll give a little bit of like context into like that too. So it's a thing where like, I enjoyed like carbonized. I do agree that like the layer selects got weird, like Ahsoka carbonized just didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
I got 3 carbonized in my collection, and I've got the Paz, I got the Vader, I got the Sith Trooper, and those are amazing. But it's a thing too where like I just know that all like the different obstacles that people like we face internally to kind of do like programs and stuff like that too. So I do like carbonized, but I also know that at that point in time in the hot takes channel, there are a lot of lukewarm takes. So I was kind of doing a little bit for content too, and in that way too, where how can I make this statement a little bit more controversial? So I like carbonized, like carbonized was a good subline, and like that was like that. But ultimately, this is my true like take. I think that carbonized was a pretty like decent line for what it was, because especially early carbonized with that packaging, I love that packaging so much. I think that's
exactly
a ton of appeal, ton of like collectible like quality to it too. Like I still have all my carbonized like boxes because they're just so beautiful. So I do enjoy it also too from a sculpt standpoint. If I look at any sort of like imperfection, like little dent on pads or whomever, I can see a lot more of that than if it were just kind of molded in like the normal plastic of sorts. So, but I do I wish that the selects that we came up with were much more in tune with like what carbonized was originally, which is just kind of like hard surface metallic type of stuff, and that was it. And obviously too, like the cost for like a 2-pack was kind of crazy, but again, like with the application, it didn't make sense why that price was a thing. But obviously consumers, and rightfully so, just it didn't seem like that good buy. So but no, I didn't like carbonized because obviously it's no longer a thing, but so but yeah, it's one of the things too where, like, it was so funny when that first came to light too. It's just like, man, this is
I found out that it was you in there saying, yeah, I thought carbonized was great, it was a great idea.
Like, you were the chosen one.
I thought that was so funny because I've gone on this like little journey of like reappreciating certain things. And I think I've just developed an appreciation for packaging, even though like I am not an inbox collector. I think for the special stuff, I'm like kind of reappraising some things. So like Carbonized was one, not going to be credit collection for me, but like the Revenge of the Sith card backs are so sick. I hope eventually you guys can do an even number, so there's not just 7 on that wall.
If only there was an 8th figure.
Yep.
You know, if only there was 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 key characters, Brandon, you guys could be doing on those card backs.
Yeah.
But
obscure characters like Yoda, Darth Vader.
You know one, Nate?
Obi-Wan.
Yeah. You know one, Nate, that I don't know if I've told you about this, but I think I kind of want to track it down. Revenge of the Jedi Vader.
Oh, you talked a little bit about that. I guess
Revenge because it's like the original, poster title of the movie. I think I'm just like I'm turning into slop, like yum yum yum, eat it up.
You just
Give
want
me
to
the
buy
Revenge of the Jedi.
You want to buy Black Series figures, but you're up to date on everything in like the main line. So now you're being forced to just purchase other things.
That's what Jayhawk said. It was like he was like the massive OT drought of modern Black Series has Justin like losing his mind, and now he's going back and collecting Carbonized and.
Jayhawk might be onto something.
Yeah.
Even though I've been on the orange and blue line quest myself for
look at that
packaging.
Yeah. It's one of the things too where like you almost have a fondness for like at least like that point in time in the line too, because like I said, I said like this on like figure ball. My thing was just like I got started in kind of figuring out like Black Series collecting when I got hired on, because I wasn't really a toy collector prior to like that. So the Black Series, like kind of line by line history stuff that you guys do taught me a ton. Actually, I forwarded like that like link to Tom when I first found out about it, because I'm like, oh, these like YouTubers like out of the basement, they're doing like this awesome like wave by wave like history of the Black Series.
What do you recall? What year was that?
Oh goodness, I don't know when
it's just blowing. It's like blowing my mind that even like years and years ago, because like it's been a long time to like get any kind of recognition, which we no spoilers of course, but on Tuesday there's a video going up where it's probably the biggest recognition we've ever got from Hasbro. It's actually right there, but and it's so interesting and honestly kind of awesome knowing that even years and years ago, when it was just like cold shoulder, like no contact, like just completely blind, like at least publicly, right. I had no idea that Hasbro or people at Hasbro were like watching our stuff. So
and
it's just cool.
Like, I'm glad that that's again, it seems to be like much more like the norm now, because again, going back to my video game background, I was always in like the indie game space where you were a lot more kind of with your community as you were building the product. So even though I couldn't be like a public face for Hasbro, because again, like that's just, it's not my job to do like that or to be like that face, especially, given the fact that, I was shadowing Tom and I wanted him to be like the front of, Black Series sculpting if you didn't want to be public in that way. But I always thought that it was way more advantageous to actually see what the community was saying and then to report back to the team with that and see what they thought and like how we can maybe put some of this like thinking into like our practices. And again, it's like there's one video that kind of what you were saying, like Justin, where I think like Mike Case was saying that he was at one of like there's a con that he went to where he was speaking to like a few like reps from like I want to say I don't know if it was the Star Wars team, but like Hasbro reps, and like they didn't know him, and like part like that was kind of sad to me, because I'm just like, again, these are the people who are giving your like product life after it hits the shelves. Like you think that you want to be a little bit more. I get like there's a whole like kind of corporate thing with it too, where there's a weird like kind of corporate political like thing at play like there too, I think. But I always been in the mindset where like we're all collectively fans of Star Wars, so why do we have to have like this like massive? Well, obviously like you can't leak anything out to members of the community, but like you can talk with them, you can like treat them as as fellow fans and like be like, oh yeah, like we'll maybe consider like that, or like having at least some like kind of confirmation that their like criticisms are heard in some way, I think is also validating too. Whether or not like it's like applied is one thing, but just giving it the time of day or just the conversation in general, I think does go a long way. So and that's why I said too, where I wasn't a collector before for my job at Hasbro, so I need to kind of supplement a lot of that knowledge with people who were collecting for years at that time. So that's why I found like your guys' channel first, and then it kind of like led me into like Lupus Monster, Black Series Cantina, etc. And I love like all of the content that the community was doing. Like Landspear Luke also, shout out, amazing content. So like probably the most like therapeutic voice in the community, I would say. Just like his videos always like just put me in a good mood. They're just like so like chill.
It's so funny how everyone says that.
Yeah,
everybody says
so,
that.
I think every like member of the community has like their own like unique voice and like what they bring to the table. And I think that's awesome. So I think again, going back to the history of the Black Series, that was awesome for me because I didn't really like I said, I didn't collect toys at that time. So just
you're talking about the literal,
I guess
the series that we did. Is that what you're talking about? Like the actual history of? Okay, I didn't realize that was what you're referencing. Sweet.
Oh yeah. Like I think I've seen all the videos with that because I just find it so interesting, like the evolution of the line. And like I said, I told Tom about like that too, so I think that he's seen a few episodes at this point in time. But I want to say that I think I maybe discovered that in 21. Like I discovered like your channel really close to when I got hired on full time for Star Wars stuff. So it might have been like late 2021, early 2022 that I was starting to kind of.
Yeah, we started that series a long time ago, bro.
Yeah. Well, it's so important, and the main reason that we wanted to make that was because I feel like some people, like there's a certain demographic out there who don't appreciate modern Black Series for what it is in comparison to like how straight up bad it used to be.
Right.
So that was kind of our inspiration to make that series to show. And I did so much research, especially for like when we got into the Dark Ages, which was, no offense to the sequel trilogy or Rogue One or anything, but it was during that time where it was just like the peg warming for years on like literal like 3, 4, 5 years, and just the awful face painting. And
they were bad figures. That's the problem. It's like, regardless of what you think about the sequels, I think we can all acknowledge those.
Yeah, like
those figures are just kind of bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I got 2 figures that are kind of just perfect examples of this. Like I got an archive F3 Obi-Wan and like the most recent F3 Obi-Wan from the Mustafar pack. I mean, it's night and day. Like there's just
The archive release of Obi-Wan's brutal too, because they made him so blonde, and you're just like, what happened here? But
and it's gotten better. And we used to say like 2020 was the turning point, really late 2019, because that's when we started getting Butters, and the photo reel really got like that Count Dooku figure comes to mind. But like we kind of used 2020 as like a benchmark of like a new age for Black Series. But now I would say 2023, and I might even say like 2025 to modern as well, because like I never would have imagined like the SDCC set and ATRT, like the Vader versus Luke set.
I mean, the good thing is the line is continuing to improve, so we have to keep like reassessing, like, maybe it's actually this year that's going to be the turning point of the Black Series, or 27. Bailey, that first wave, go ahead.
Let me black myself right now.
We'll distort your voice, or I have no idea. But no, I mean, that's a good thing though, that we continue to see such improvements and so many things that have changed the line to the point where we are like, this is like the turning point.
This is crazy.
But it's great though. It's great to see like the different diorama sets. I hope we see more of that.
All right, Brandon, if we don't get Max Rebo in 2027, I think I'm going to flip out. You can't be saying all these sorts of things. Yeah, I'm quitting the line, and we're going to delete the channel.
And to stick it to Hasbro, I'm going to go straight to vintage collection.
And I'll get into G.I. Joe. My hopes are really high for 2027 with the way they keep hyping it up.
Although, I mean, let's face it, 24 was great, 25 was great, 26 has been great so far. So it's,
and that's not to say that we're just glazers, because
For sure.
something that Nate and I have experienced on YouTube is, the majority of everyone is super cool. Like 93% of people are very cool in the Black Series community, but like that remaining like 7%, they are stuck between this like never-ending conundrum of, is Out of the Basement shills or is Out of the Basement too toxic, too negative? And I feel like, Bailey, obviously you're part of the 93% because we do very frequently.
Secretly, he's in that 7%.
Yeah, he's in that 7%. He's like, these guys are shills, man. But we have been accused of being too toxic and too negative. And the reason for that is because we are not afraid to like actually call out like the things that we want change, or if a reveal is really bad and we think it's bad, we're just going to be open and honest. Yeah. So it's nice to hear that our style of content resonates with people at Hasbro like yourself, because to me that's demonstrating that you don't just want the 100% glazing at all times. You can do no wrong. Everything is amazing because I love Star Wars, Yeah,
because like for me, again, it's like twofold. It's like, yes, there's like my own kind of like artistic ego where I do want to do awesome stuff, but I also want to do awesome stuff for the community too, because I know how much joy it brings people. So I think that if I had like a bunch of like yes men around me, it'd be kind of boring because like I would get no friction or pushback to kind of improve. Like I'd have to have like that self-imposed for the most part, which again I just naturally do. But having people who would be like, oh, it was decent here, but could be better because of this, that, and the other. That's great to me. The only thing, like, I'm also totally fine, just me in particular. Obviously, everybody varies with mileage, but like, you can be very upfront with me and just tell me like something that's straight up like garbage, but like at least tell me why it is garbage, so I know at least what to kind of act on in the future. Like I said, going through art school, I mean, words were not watered down of whatever quality content it was that you provided with. It's just like, but the goal is always the same, where I want to create awesome content and collectors want to collect awesome content. So let's unify together and just move forward in that way too. So like I said, I love your content. You guys, I mean, you've never come off as glazers or anything like that too. Like obviously you'll say what you like, say what you don't like, and that's totally fine. It's just like I talked about this a little bit on For Your Ball, and I think on Cantina too, but the only thing that bothers me is when people go to the nth degree to say so-and-so's lazy because of this, that, and the other, which I get if you don't like the offering or whatever, but like there's been several times where I've pulled all-nighters on some of the stuff, like close to like 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning for some of the stuff. Because again, I care about it, and obviously I'm doing a lot more work than what I'm like asked of, but like at the same point, I'm still a fan. I still want to like hang my hat and be proud of what I do. So, and again, I know that it's not like directed at me in particular, but like whenever I just know how hard the entire team works, to hear like laziness be an assumption because you didn't like the offering or you didn't feel like you got your money's worth, that's one that just doesn't really ever mesh well with me. Obviously they tell me like that you don't like the offering because and they give the reasons, but like if you make an assumption, be like, oh, they're lazy or they're phoning it in, I'm like, that's not right. That's so
I feel like that's always just something like
it's like a blanket statement.
Yeah. But, I mean, you could just chalk it up to like, I feel like budget is probably the reason why there's shortcomings on figures more than anything. But I don't see how that's not like a common thought. You know?
Like budget and time. I mean, if we had like an endless money pool and an endless time, everything that we would do would just be like,
right.
Amazing, like it would be perfect, but like people would just have to wait for it at that point in time. So there's no kind of like silver bullet in that way where you're going to get like an awesome, impeccable thing tomorrow. Like it takes time, it takes money. So I mean, it's always a balancing act of sorts. But I think that for the most part, the community does give us a pretty fair shake, which I'm very glad of too, because I've seen the different communities, not Black Series related, but like who are just. Their content is controversy. It's not actually criticism. It's just controversy. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna give this the time of day, really, because I already watched enough of your videos to know that this is not constructive in any way. So
No, but I mean, it's great to finally have at least like a little bit of understanding as far as like the process goes, because I feel like that's where Justin and I's early frustrations came in. Like way back in the day, was just like no communication, not knowing how anything worked, just kind of like guessing and assuming. And I feel like that's helped us and probably has helped a lot of other people in the community just have a little bit more understanding towards the team and like how the production of the actual figures themselves go. So it is great to finally have like that little bit of a through line.
We've needed an ear to the ground.
I've said this quite a bit, but I've always felt like it's like the SpongeBob meme where like the Black Series collectors are like Squidward, and then Patrick and SpongeBob are like the Marvel Legends and the G.I. Joe collectors, like having fun outside, like being able to like communicate with the team and have like the open dialogue and stuff like that. And then for Black Series, it's just like, here's a B1 battle droid in a t-shirt.
Because they would do those Q&As and no offense, but I'm just like, who are any of these people? Like, I don't know anyone here. What's going on?
Yeah, the Q&As where it was just endless. Can you tell me if Pong Krell is coming to the line?
Bro,
yes
and people were in the
no?
chat still 6 years later. They're still asking him about Pong Krell. I'm like, yeah, bro, he's going to leak it right here on Lazy Sunday and go to the Hasbro dungeon with Eric, bro. He doesn't want to be in the dungeon.
Yeah, I like having jobs, so I'll stick to it. I signed an NDA, so I got to abide by it. So, yeah.
Who are you? Yeah. Let me ask you this, and I think I might know the answer because we talked about it briefly already.
I love that.
I'm just getting more ideas from the Discord. Do you have an out, by the way? Or are you free?
Oh, I'm completely free. Like, I want to free up as much time. Yeah, so I'm good.
All right.
7 more hours. Lock in.
All right. Oh, God. Yeah, let's do the Figure Ball 24 hours stream.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So... To all the lovely people who have put their questions in my text channel that I specifically made for the stream in the Discord, a lot of these questions just naturally already got answered, so it's not like I'm skipping your questions. But what head sculpt have you been the most proud of? And if it is what I think it is, has there been one where it was such a grueling process that you're just like so proud that you got it made and it's as good as it is?
Oh man, there have been several that I've been pretty proud of. Like obviously, like the Anakin, I'm proud of because like it's also like really cherished by the community too. I think that with that in particular, I haven't had a head sculpt that was like that well received. Like, granted, I think it's because like Anakin's such a prominent character in Star Wars, and also too like there wasn't like at that scale there wasn't like a really definitive like this is a Hayden like I think that for the one I worked on, people were a little bit more this is awesome. So I think that
it's. Without a doubt, it's the best 1/12 likeness to Hayden Christensen.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say shout out to Adam in the Discord. He says, how does it feel knowing you sculpted the best 1/12 Anakin period? Because it is generally accepted that the Black Series is better face wise at least better than the SH Figure Arts.
Yeah, I do take a lot of pride in like that too. Because again, I always hold myself to like a really high standard because like I want to. Essentially, me and Tom always kind of go with the mode of thought where we want Black Series to be miniature Hot Toys when it comes to sculpt quality. So that's where I always kind of, even though I know that with Hot Toys, they get like much like longer timelines versus what we get. It's just a thing where I take a lot of pride in knowing that this was so well received by the community, and I do like how it came out. Definitely. Obviously, I'm always critical of myself. There are things here that I think can be like fine tuned here and there, but that's just me. I'm always gonna like nitpick my own stuff, but I don't want to do too much with that because the amount of joy that people got from like this, I want to maintain like that too. So most like the kind of things that are little tweaks here and there, I just keep to myself. But again, I'm always looking to improve. But I think that being the fact that I got to work on this set in general, and how much that sequence of scenes mean to me. It just, again, it doesn't get any better than that. And also, too, to have everybody receive this Anakin the way that they did, you can't ask for better, in all honesty. So, I mean, I think that, when it comes to all those factors, this is probably the head sculpt that I take the most pride in because of how much people cared about it.
It was so important to get it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I also worked a tiny bit on the inkjet for both heads, too, because there's like just like fine tuning like eyes and stuff too at some point in like the development process. So this is probably the one Black Series that had a little bit of, work on the inkjet too.
Sweet.
So that's like a little fun behind the scenes thing as well.
Yeah, I do like well, I love both, but the Sith head in particular is just like, it's got to be the GOAT. It's got.
I was actually so this is gonna sound like weird, but like I was actually most proud of like the expression I gave to the lips because they're so subtle. But again, I broke out my face expression anatomy book, and just knowing how the lip deforms, and even like when you like tighten like your lips ever so slightly, I was just like do that in like probably about 5 minutes because I was able to think about how the sculpt would like move if we're creating like this expression. So I was able to manipulate it with like move tools and stuff in a way that was natural, and it worked the first time in 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to touch it. It's good. So that was another thing where I'm like, man, I thought this expression was going to take me a long time, but at least for the lips and like for the furrowed brow, I mean, that alternate expression probably took me about honestly 30 minutes just because like the base hit was decent. It's like the neutral face. I just again widened the eyelids, furrowed the brow, tighten like the lips a little bit here and there. I think I might have ever so slightly brought the nostrils up just ever so slightly, just kind of give them that more of a flared nostril look. But no, that was something that I was really happy with how it came out too. So but yeah, I think that Anakin's probably going to be my best Black Series memory just because of that. But there have been other things too that I've been proud of too, like just going to a few more obscure characters. I worked on like the Vanestra head sculpt and taking like that from like beginning to end. Just like the improvement that we saw with like that was awesome too. I also like the Sigourney Weaver like head sculpt that I did because that was a quicker turnaround too to get that right. And then and that one was kind of like
she looks great.
Yeah, thank you. And that was the thing too where I had to maybe I want to say 2 days to turn that one around. So I had like
wait, what?
Yeah, some stuff is like super tight.
For Sigourney Weaver,
I couldn't handle that, bro. Give me 2 days. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, but again, it's one of the things where like we had like the beginning of it was like done by like a vendor, and then I was just like fine tuning it to be more like the likeness in a lot of ways. So it is like kind of almost like a relay race of sorts. But like there's like a good bit of like, work I had to do on like the face and obviously like the hair too to try and get like that to work with the removable helmet. Yeah. And then I'm not sure how well the track came out for the visor, but I did work on like the track for the visor and the helmet too. Are
you able? You might not be able to answer this, but people have been asking what you design with, like if it's ZBrush or like.
Yeah, I design with ZBrush. That's pretty public knowledge because we even went on like a ZBrush live stream a couple of years back for May the 4th to essentially show our sculpts in ZBrush. So
I remember that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much. Yeah, that's like the software that like we use for the most part. That's what I've used for a long time too. I also use like this other 3D software called Blender. I also use Unreal Engine for visualization stuff as well. I've used all three of those software packages for probably close to like over 15 years. Because like I said, I got started pretty young at like 12, where I picked up Blender, and then like maybe 2 years later I picked up ZBrush, and then I picked up Unreal Engine at the same time too. So I was just kind of I just stuck with those software packages up to this time, and I guess it's served me pretty well. So
I gotta ask.
Yep.
Did you look at Dracula for a young Christopher Lee likeness?
Yeah, so the reference I got was like black and white. It wasn't Dracula though. It was like him in like younger. If I had to place his age for one of the images, maybe 26.
Wow.
And maybe like late 20s, early 30s, clean shaven. And so I was basing that off of that. I want to say maybe 5 photos in that way because there's obviously not a whole lot of like young Christopher Lee reference out there. So you really only have 5 photos.
He didn't have a face scan?
Yeah, back in whatever year.
For the bearded version, I literally just put so I sculpted the young version on the original old Count Dooku head. I just took my sculpt layer setting and split the difference to give him like that more middle-aged head. So I actually did like use like the original Count Dooku because I do know the fact that the Count Dooku was based off of a Christopher Lee scan for like I want to say episode 2. So I was using that kind of like my like North Star in that way. De-aged him with my own sculpting, and then just kind of split the difference with the slider to make him like that bearded middle-aged version of it. So that's just a little trick. So.
That's really awesome. So like you mentioned that with Anakin and Dooku now. I guess in sort of like a similar lane, can you talk about just maybe if it's possible or how you will sometimes like blow up a TVC figure to Black Series scale, or vice versa, or shrink them down.
Yeah. So like we'll do like that to obviously save on time, but also whenever you do that, you do have to re-engineer the figure because again, with the manufacturing requirements, you can't go below 1 millimeter thickness for a lot of things because then you get what's called a short shot in the mold, which that just means that the steel is too thin so the plastic won't actually go through that cavity, and that can create like a little fraying of like the edges of certain things. So for things as fine as like hair, that's why you might see like little kind of like gate marks or kind of like little splashing stuff around that because it just got too thin. So when you scale stuff down for TVC, joints have to get chunked up because again, there's certain like QA tests that they have to hit where they can't maintain proportionally what Black Series does because if they did, everything would break. So you do have to kind of re-enlarge like different like disc joints, ball joints, and then kind of resculpt like hair to make it chunkier for a TVC because again, that scale to scale down is not going to. It's going to be if it was 1 millimeter at Black Series, it might be maybe 0.5 or whatever at like TVC, and that's just too thin. So you're going to have to get chunkier for that stuff. And then conversely, whenever you would scale the TVC to Black Series, you're still going to have to re-engineer it because it's not going to look good at that scale. It's just scaled to TVC, so you do have to resculpt a good bit of stuff. But it's another way that it's a smart way to save on time. If we already do have the beginning assay, we still will have to kind of more or less make edits from head to toe still, but at least we'll have like the base form of what that figure is. And then we can also just even levy or use criticism that we got on like that version of the character and maybe add it to this one. So that's another thing that we always kind of are mindful of too. But there's a lot of creative ways that we try and save on time. So again, just try and get to that end awesome goal with the time constraints that we have. That's just another strategy that we use sometimes.
So if there are situations where you have like a 2-day turnaround, because we've always heard from like other Hasbro employees that the general turnaround on a figure is like 18 months from the concept, just like having the idea of, all right, we're going to do this figure and then on store shelves. So like, why would it be such a short, like,
so it's because like every single department has like different like timelines and deadlines where they have to have stuff submitted. So for sculpting, like this obviously varies, but like on a good like timeline, like we'll get like maybe about for one figure maybe close to 4 weeks of sculpt time. Sometimes that can be like less, sometimes it can be slightly more, God willing. But so we'll have to have like all that stuff submitted to licensor, and at that point it'll go through a different approval process, and then we'll be working on the deco sheets and all that stuff too. And then it'll go to manufacturing. It takes a lot of time to cut steel tools because we go through like the whole check model phase 2, just to make sure that everything when it's 3D printed is performing as intended before we start to cut steel tool, because at that point you're spending a lot of money, and then that takes a ton of time too. And then we go into packaging and all the other stuff as well. So it does for the entirety of from concept to on shelf. It does take 18 months for all parties involved to do like their part and to hit like their deadlines in that way too. So it's it's a very, like I said before, it's very much so a relay race across the board. So
that makes sense. All right. Oops. Stuff is popping up on my screen. All right. Let me look at the Discord again. So many good questions in here. How would you feel about sculpting a large head? Oh my gosh, never mind. It's a Rancor question. Get us started on that.
Oh boy.
Have you worked? I know that like most of the examples you sent me are humanoid characters. Have you worked on like straight up alien head sculpts? Like I know Shizor is an alien, but he is like humanoid.
Yeah, like I've worked on like little small sections of aliens. Like I worked on like I actually did. So I actually managed and worked a little bit on like the Genie Ocean Blaster right there. So I did work on the prop and manage that prop.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and then I did like more called like render sheets. So I'll get like sculpts from Tom. I'll compose a render sheet, and that's what we submit to licensors. So I do have like a little bit of hand on a little bit less visual manipulation of a figure in that way. But when it comes to aliens, I worked on Watto's nostril at one point.
Hell yeah!
Anything like super, but just very specific parts of like aliens. Like I worked on the upper. You don't even see it, but I actually worked on the head articulation for Sebulba, like I just like smoothed that out because that was asking me just to kind of clean that up a little bit. You can't see anything when he's just in a static pose, but it gets a little bit more range. So like, nothing like totally crazy. It's in terms of aliens. So yeah.
Someone hit you up and they were like, "Bro, I can't do Watto's nostril. Like, I need you to nail this for me."
Yeah.
It was a thing too. Well, I think that was like just a catch by me because like Tom had sent me just like Watto, I think to make a render sheet, and then I'd seen from the reference of what the sculpt was. I'm like, "Hey Tom, like I noticed like this. Like, can I edit this?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, good catch." And then like I'll just go ahead and make that edit. And in some cases too, like if I find that I can't really paint the picture of what the edit might be, I might spend 5 minutes on layer, which just for context, whenever you're sculpting layers in ZBrush, it's a non-destructive way to just edit a sculpt. So I'll sculpt on a layer, just really roughly like what I've got in my mind's eye, get like Tom's thoughts on it, see like if it's something that he wants to pursue. If not, then I'll just delete the layer. I think in Watto's case, it was a thing where I start to just because I want to say off of memory, the nostril is further down his trunk, and then in like the reference,
right, I gotta grab it.
Movie, it's like higher up, and also like it was like more circular, whereas like it was a little bit more of like a unique shape in the reference. So I just like made like an edit like that, and he was he essentially was just like, "Oh yeah, good catch." So it just little things like that I've done too that aren't really necessarily asked of me, but like as another pair of eyes. And also this works in both cases too, where I would submit stuff to Tom and he'd be like, "Hey, what about like this?" And I'll be like, "Oh, that's a good idea or a good catch too." So it's a team sport really. So yeah, I got to sculpt Watto's nostrils in that way. So
that's awesome.
Does he have
I also worked on the flight stand too. Yeah, that was another thing I worked on.
Oh, the flight stand.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm starting to recall. I worked on like both sets of wings too, like the actual like in flight wings. Yeah.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, we were hating on these at first, and then we completely turned around.
Yeah, they look great. They look so much better. The promo pictures, for whatever reason, just didn't do them justice. But
I love that you can tell it's like three solid sculpt wings, and then the blur.
Yeah, and that was like I think that was like, I can't remember if that was my idea or Tom's idea, but like there was like a lot of like talk between the two of us. So how do we communicate this with a static object with motion? So I looked at like a lot of futuristic sculpts, which like that's the actual like for those who don't know, like that's the actual artistic style. Like if you Google futurism, there's a lot of like in motion painting that was done at that time, where you get a lot of like these kind of like almost like animation frames that are just like all seen at the same time with like a motion trail that leads through like them. So I was inspired by that with like the wings. So that's why I created like 3 distinct different kind of pose A, B, and C, and then just kind of create a little like, of that motion streak with what that range of motion would be with that circular pathway. So and it came out pretty well with the whole like spray that they applied like there too, to just communicate like, oh, it's going so fast that you can't see the tips of the wings. So yeah.
Now what happened with the Geo wings in motion?
Yeah, well, can I see like the Geo wings? Because I haven't seen like those in person actually.
Let me grab that one.
Yeah, go on, grab the figure, Justin. Yeah, they just I don't know, they just don't look they don't look quite as up to par as the Watto wings.
So yeah, the way I would explain it is like it's different from the Watto wings because they kind of just look solid.
Yeah, they're like chunky.
And like look, they're like thick.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have them the wrong orientation or like that's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah. So I think at least on the camera, also in memory, like so with the Geo wings, like at least with like the movie reference and like the other stuff that we were seeing, like the range of motion for the actual wings were like a little bit more like jittery, almost kind of like I don't want to say like a hummingbird, but they didn't seem to have like the same degree of like kind of I guess this type of like texture. They seem like a lot more rigid than like Watto's. So I think that that got smoothed out a lot because again, off of memory, there were 3 distinct parts of like the wing where again, much like Watto's, it was like kind of like that A, B, and C defined kind of spine of like the wing that was seen. So I think that was just something that was maybe too subtle in the sculpt that then got lost in the plastic. Because that's the other thing too that that has been an ongoing issue that we've been trying to solve for years is like how do we kind of get more credit for our sculpt detail and like because stuff gets so smoothed out in the molds a lot, especially at that scale. Oh yeah, we also got like a pattern on like the static.
I love these wings though. Like,
those wings
they're
are
like
incredible.
A little textured too, and the
is
paint
that
on it is really good.
Is that inkjet or is that like?
That's a good question. I'd never even considered that. This is like our favorite thing is to pull out the flashlight and be like, is that inkjet or is that real? That might be inkjet, actually.
I feel like it's got to be inkjet.
Yeah, it totally is. I can see the dots. Okay. That's cool, though. Yeah, I love the wings on the regular one, though. Like, yeah. I just love getting that, like, detail.
Yeah, I'd say, like, that it's probably a thing where, like, we just should push it more in the sculpt to get credit for all of that detail. Because I do remember that because like I was sculpting both ones at the same time to make sure that they were unified with that. But I guess there's like another thing where you could have pushed it more. So that's another thing that I'll add to that. Okay, future Bailey will be a champion over that. So
so do you collect Black Series, or is it just like I work on that, so I don't really want to?
So I collect a little bit here and there. It's like I really have no like. I've seen like the collections that people in the community have. Mine is much more like a hodgepodge of bunch of different things. Like I've got like I'm more so into the designer toy space. So that's like a Mondo Godzilla. It's like an NYCC exclusive that I couldn't find anywhere. And then my mom found it, and then she gave it to me for my birthday. So shout out to her. And then I just got like this like a Death Sword Zoid when I was in Japan, and it was like a thing where I think that if I turn like the camera down, that thing actually like lights up and like moves and walks. And I'm just like that's awesome. So I collect a bunch of different stuff. In my other room, I've got a collection of SHF. I got like an SHF like cooler. I've got a lot of like high Godzilla toys. Like I got a King Ghidorah, and then I've got I'm really invested into like monsters like Godzilla and just kind of kaiju in general.
Oh, sweet.
I've even got like the one McFarlane figure I have. I've got no clue who the figure is or who the character is, but I just love the design. It's a Psychor. So he's like this like cyborg girl from Spawn. Never even seen Spawn, but I'm just that figure looks so awesome. I'll buy it. It moves like garbage, but I mean it looks cool. So I mean, yeah.
So you're a rule of cool guy.
Kind of, yeah. In a lot of ways, yeah. Because if I don't have any sort of emotional tie to any sort of like brand or whatever, I might just buy it too because I respect like the quality that it is too. Like as a sculptor, I can appreciate when stuff is done really well there as well. But yeah, I collect like a little bit of Black Series. I have like a handful of Marvel Legends. I've got most of my stuff though is Black Series just because I kind of see like those as learning tools too. If we could like improve range on this thing, it's way better to kind of feel that in hand to kind of have the lesson be learned just versus just purely visual. So I also like buy the stuff that is heavily criticized in different ways too. Like for example, I know that going back to toe articulation, that was like very controversial. So after Mike Case had told me that he was having issues with posing his Boba, I opened up my Boba Fett and I experienced the exact same stability issues that he was experiencing. So having that kind of almost like empathy and like that kind of like frustration lets me know like, okay, why is it failing? How can we be like better about this too? I think ultimately in that case, what I expect it to happen is like the toe hinge to just kind of fall like this way and just to bend and just have him fall down. But it almost seemed like that the legs in general, it almost seemed like my version of like Boba, his legs were a little bit more like boat. So even to get him to like stand in a neutral pose, he just kept falling this way and that way. And a lot of times too, one trick that we do a lot to aid in the stability is we do increase the feet size of the figures a lot, just getting like that more stability. Even though that's not as accurate to the reference, it does help with the stability. And in all honesty, from a priority standpoint, you want your figure to stand versus being totally accurate in that way too. Because at the end of the day, if we were to argue like realism, we wouldn't have any sort of part breaks. We just have statues, and that would be it. So we do still want to have like that stability of sorts. So I think that in Boba Fett's like case, it was a thing where I just was really just going off like the scan that we got of like the legs and just kind of breaking that off, and then not really factoring in because this is also early 21 or actually early 22 is when we were sculpting like that figure way back when, and then
which is crazy because it came out last year.
Yeah, and that was like, something that was like put on the back burner. There was like a lot of like back and forth with like that figure in particular, and also like too like not I won't get into like personal details, but like there's like an interesting part of like my personal life that kind of was oddly reflected by the back and forth of that Boba Fett. So the fact that Boba Fett even saw the light of the day gave me some finality to where I was headspace wise in that part of me. So even though it was controversial, I'm glad that it was out there for at least people to give their criticism. So, but I think that with that, I should have just like maybe chunked up the feet a little bit more, maybe scaled them like this way just to aid in like that stability. Because the toe hinge was staying exactly where it was when I bent it into place. Because my speculation after hearing what Mike was saying is like, okay, this figure's going to fall forward when I pick it up. The toes are going to be like bent like this way because like that hinge is going to give, and that's why he's falling forward. But his feet stayed, or his toes rather, stayed in the exact like neutral spot that they were. So I just speculate that they were just too thin from like this perspective, and they also just weren't scaled up how they normally would be. So,
right. That's so interesting that, because wasn't there something about like thigh swivel? Like that was the first figure.
Yeah, so that was the
thigh
first figure that thigh swivel was cut, because like the idea like there too, and again, this is going back ways back. It was I think we had like a bunch of different Boba Fett's coming out at the time, and we wanted to have like some newness with this one. And that's what, the conversation had come up with, okay, because there was like a G.I. Joe figure that had the increased cavity with the thigh that got a decent range. So the thought like there was like, okay, if we can add newness with this new articulation, which we kind of see in imports, and we kind of optimize the thigh, and we actually increase, because before like that point in time, there was like really no kind of, cavity or cone-like cavity to the thigh, because you were relying all on like that flat plane. So the thought was like, okay, if we actually create an opening in the thigh to create like that swivel, could we essentially, have our cake and eat it too, where we might not be getting like, complete, 180 or complete like 360 rotation of a thigh, but could we settle for, 45 out and then 25 inward at the time, and get toe articulation with essentially it's the same exact, part count in that way, since we wouldn't be doing the thigh cut. So that's again like what the motive thought was. But then again, with how everything like played out with hitting like certain pull tests and everything like that too, the cavity just got closed down, and then that's when there's a lot more reliance on like the knee disc. So, but again, it's just one of the things where we took a chance, and obviously it became controversial. But I am glad that we took the chance, because even if we it is controversial, and like it is like a failure in the fact that it can't really stand a whole lot. I think that having that failure, if we ever did go back to like that, at least we have concrete lessons learned of how we can improve, and also like see what the criticisms were if we ever do like that ever again. So again, I'm always of the mindset where I'm glad that we take risks. Obviously, that can be frustrating at times for the community, but like if we don't like take risks, then we don't have lessons learned, and we also don't evolve the line in that way either. So I think that there's a kind of case-by-case basis where you don't want to kind of lean too heavily into any sort of risky thing in that way. But I think that, being what it was, there are things that we would definitely do differently with the toe articulation in that way too. So,
Do you have someone? I'm just reading off the chat here. Do you have a favorite Black Series figure? Just favorite Black Series figure, period.
Oh man,
it's a tough one.
It is a tough one,
especially impromptu.
Yeah. Because I mean, I guess my answer varies based off aesthetics and the performance of the joints. So in terms of aesthetics, I really like how Darth Malgus came out. And obviously, like I'm a little bit biased with that, but like how chipping in the armor came out too, because I was always nervous, like kind of overdoing it. Because again, going back to the whole idea where if you do a detail too shallow or too small, you don't really get credit for it in the final product, because stuff could just get softened. So, but the fact that I could still see the wear and tear of the armor on Malgus, I'm like, okay, that looks awesome. And the fact that the soft goods came out so awesome on him too, with like the tape down like hood, like that was awesome.
Yeah.
So I really like that figure. He's just also very imposing too. I've got him on my shelf. So aesthetic wise, I think that he's one of my favorites, just because he's a unit of a Sith Lord too. So,
yeah, big bulky boy.
Yeah. When it comes to range and motion, I really do enjoy the butterflies of F3 Anakin a lot, because obviously he's got like a tunic piece that covers like the part break, so you can get a ton of range. You can have a deep cut without worrying how it looks, because you can just have that superficial piece, and then he can get like awesome range that way. So Anakin is a good one. I really do like. I do like the new like Django. A few things about like that figure too. I think the off of memory right now, I'm just going to base off what's I can recall off my shelf right now. I'm sure that there's plenty of others, but there is one like figure that again I can't talk about that I'm really happy with this one. So I've gotten a lot better, I guess, with being a freelancer, with how I consider doing part breaks and everything. So yeah, I'll have a new favorite once it's actually announced. But right now, those are of the ones I know about that have been public. Those are some of my favorites. I also really like. I had no hand in this figure, but I really like Kylo Ren because I did the Darth Nihilus custom that you guys had done, where you just put like the Darth Nihilus head on the Kylo Ren like body. I did like the Starkiller base body, and so I got like with the Force choke hand. I have him on like the snow base.
Yeah,
I really like how the arms just feel in hand, like just posing like that. That's really fun. Nice. I love the chunkiness of Paz Vizsla. I mean, he's a unit, another unit where he literally feels like a paperweight sometimes. So I'm like, that's cool. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I do like. Yeah, I'm sure like there's plenty of others where as soon as I go upstairs and I'll see like figures, I'm like, oh, I should have said this or that one. But right now, based off of like how it felt to pose different figures, I'd say those are probably some of my favorites. In terms of like going beyond Black Series, I do have a new favorite figure that it's a relatively new release. It's the Loose Collector Yeti. Yeah, nice. It's massive. It's like that tall. And the thing of that, so I got the werewolf from this collector as well. The joints are absurdly tight. Like whenever I pose the arms, I feel like I'm going to break the figure. It's either going to hurt me or I'm going to hurt it type of thing. Because all like the kind of hair details all have like a fine point to them, so it's like kind of hurts to pose. Whereas like they learned so many lessons from that figure where the Yeti has chunky joints that hold its pose, but it's just super smooth by comparison. So I mean, it's a joy to pose. It's also got like it does have like really fun toe articulation where they actually have like, a little like it's not like a lock, but it's almost like a recessed bead that you can kind of tell. It's almost like a different answer to a ratchet where it does it's able to hold in place with like this little depression of sorts with like the little bead that they have. So I thought that was really cool, like engineering solution. Which again, I'm kind of collecting for for aesthetic, but also I want to see how different companies and different artists and engineers approach similar issues or certain challenges. So I always kind of like to collect with that mindset too. But yeah, right now my favorite figure is definitely going to be the Loose Collector Yeti that came out because that thing is it's awesome. So
sweet,
nice.
All right. Oh, you go ahead. I'll be right back. Actually.
Okay. So, what is a character that you're still looking to bring to the line? What's your like number one Star Wars character that you personally would love to bring to the line?
Honestly, I've said this on other live streams and podcasts. What got me into the Star Wars fandom were not the movies; it was the Gendy series. So it's got to be Dirge. It's got to be Dirge. Dirge is my number one. I mean, that battle scene between him and Kenobi, amazing. Like, literally a walking armory. Just insane.
I think Hasbro should go hog wild on the Tartakovsky stuff. Like,
I agree.
Obviously I'm a Black Series collector, so seeing that new TVC set that's coming, I'm like, blow it up. I'm just like, where's the Black Series one? Like, because the packaging too. I was not expecting the packaging because, like, everything about that was just like, oh man. Yeah, that was one of those moments where I'm gonna buy the set anyway, right? Because I love 2D Clone Wars, but I'm like, damn it, it'd be so much cooler if it was Black Series though.
Because like part of me was like playing this weird like game where like I'm like, oh, this is Black Series. For whatever reason, I assumed it was Black Series because that's just why I wanted it to be. And then when I heard it was the vintage, I'm like, that's cool. Like I have like maybe one or two vintage items. Like I've got like the Starfighter, like the N1 Starfighter with like Mando and Grogu, and then I've got like a Chrysanthemum vintage figure. But like, yeah, I'm like, that's cool. But like, yeah, if it were Black Series, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's it goes with the rest of my collection a little bit better. So yeah, but I'm just glad that their vintage collection is also showing up for prequel era stuff to that more niche degree, I guess. But yeah, I'm a big Gendy fan. I mean, that's the reason why that Grievous is my favorite Star Wars like villain, just because he's so cool. Because in the Gendy series, he's way more like a xenomorph than like the mustache twirling villain that he became in like the 3D Clone Wars, which I've never been a fan of. Like the redesign or redo of Grievous' character in that show, because I mean, if he's getting jumped by Gungans. That's kind of more comedic relief versus the Genji series where he's literally going through Kiadi Mundi.
Yeah, I mean it's like kind of like a horror movie scene.
Shaggy,
yeah.
So
he's like creeping down from the ceiling and stuff.
Yeah, it's so cool. And the fact that and they made it like his character in Ep3 make more sense because Mace crushes his like ribcage more or less. But so it made sense why he was so like nerfed in that film. But man, Genji Grievous is just like he's awesome. So when it comes to like characters that I haven't seen in the line, I definitely say like Dirge. That's just he would be amazing to have in the collection. Just like his size and everything, like yeah.
I think it would be the perfect made-to-order figure.
Yeah,
to
that'd be sweet. That'd be sweet.
Give us.
Yeah.
So Tartakovsky design, right? Not just like the comic book.
Yeah. So like
realistic Dirge.
Yeah, I've thought about this too because like I kind of go back and forth between two different things. Like I kind of see it as like okay, as a fan, what would I want, and then as a sculptor, what would I want? Because sometimes those always aren't aligned. Like I do. As a sculptor, I honestly do love the hybrid stuff because if there's any sort of like interpretation that you can give, you're kind of leaving like your artistic touch on certain things. So as an artist, I find that to be really gratifying. But there's also like a coolness that if we did do like a really stylized like Genji style like Dirge, that'd be cool. Although I will say with the exaggerated proportions of Dirge in the Genji style, stability wise, I don't know if that would be it. So I would think that personally with me as like an artist, I would probably do almost like a hybrid of sorts of different influences where, you might do.
Ooh. I meant to ask you about that because it seems like every Star Wars toy company does that, where it is a hybrid of like different things. Like even Hot Toys, which is supposed to be like the super hyper accurate thing, they are consistently getting things wrong because they will combine things from like Rogue One and A New Hope.
Right.
So for example, they recently did a TIE fighter pilot, and it's armor pieces and design details from Rogue One and the original movie. So it's like technically not accurate to either. Like, why is that so prevalent?
Yeah.
Because I know Black Series does it too. Like the Mandalorian and Grogu Snowtrooper, it uses design detail from the OT.
Yeah.
And the new movie.
So if I had to speculate, because there's several different things that I can think about. So there might be like a like if they ever do like a true to form like this version of like this trooper, there might be like kind of like that tooling cost that's already been paid for like this like one part. But if it's like actually like design elements on the same part that are done, at that point I'd probably say that it might be due to like what's canon in that way, to just try and create like the amalgamation, like what all versions, and just kind of roll it into one, versus it being like one version of this one. Again, like there's no like consistent thing across any company's offerings with like all like that stuff too. That's why I'm actually glad that we did kind of stick true to the B2, because I mean there's the Filoni version, which is like hulked out like just
beefcake,
almost like Genji proportions in live action, which is kind of
for real.
So for me, going back to like that question of Dirge, how I approach it is like I would probably do like similar to like the Dr. Aphra version of Dirge, and maybe just kind of elevate it slightly with proportions from like the Genji series. So I might give him like a little bit more bigger shoulder bulges again, not having a true to like this is like the style is Genji, or like this like the Dr. Aphra, but just kind of have like an amalgamation again, similar to like how we approach different portraits, like the Kal Katarn we sourced concept art, live action this, live action like that. Just kind of it can't be so much of this and can't be so much of that. So it can't just be, it can still feel like the character without being explicitly like this thing. So I think that's how I would personally approach like a Dirge. But to again answer your question there, Justin, I honestly don't have a consistent answer with any of that stuff, apart from just like the fact that maybe they want to have their version of canon in like the Black Series, or collector space in general, where they kind of pick elements of every single thing to be like this is the true version throughout all like the entertainment that we've seen up to this point in time. It could also be like if this chess piece is new to the Mando version of like this character, could we also maybe do like the rest of the body in like OT to like maybe do like a true OT version or whatever. So there's a lot of reasons for I guess doing like that stuff. Sometimes too, this is another thing as well that I found out early on. Sometimes the studio reference is different from what actually makes it to the film. So there can also be that deviation there too. So there's a lot that does kind of get into it, and obviously when you get so far down in the production line, you can't make changes, especially after it's been approved by the licensor. So I don't have a clear kind of answer for you, unfortunately. I just have guesses of what different things might be, but I really don't know. So
it's interesting you bring up the B2 because oh God, am I echoing or is that just me?
No, you're
never
good.
mind. All right.
I think you're good.
I consider that like the single greatest Black Series relief I've ever felt, because when it was pipelined, which bring back the pipeline, I kind of miss the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And when that image, like they used the Attack of the Clones image, but my mind was like, oh gosh, they're gonna go with like the modern, because that the Clone Wars design, like the Beefcake B2 appears in The Mandalorian Season 1 in that flashback where it's like that bigger design. And I was just like, please no. Like, give me the Attack of the Clones theatrical aesthetic. And that reveal happened. And I was just like, it was the biggest, like, sigh of relief.
Yeah, I think like that the team was collectively like on board too. Because I remember like conversations work-wise, I was pretty like vocal where I'm like, it's got to be like a B2 like theatrical as well. Because, I mean, at that point in time, we were already talking about doing more prequel stuff. I'm like, oh, if we're going to go prequel, we have to do theatrical like B2. We can't do like the Mando like beefed up or Gendy type of like B2. So we got to keep like accurate like that, because like at that point, like that's such a difference in deviation. Because structure-wise, I mean, completely different. Like it honestly feels like a different class of droid. In all honesty, just because it is like so bulked up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a case where that was awesome that we did remain true, and we also added the little Easter egg where like of the removable panel that is like the
cool.
That's cool. Like that, off of memory, I think that was like Eric's idea. So shout out to him. But
he seems to be like the big gamer of the group.
He really is. Like, even though like I also take a lot of pride in gaming. Like Eric is like way more into like deep cuts. Like there was like I still can't remember the character's name that they just revealed. Like a deep cut like KOTOR character. His name started with I think. Yeah, and I completely forgot like that he was even in the line play, because Eric had mentioned him once. I had no clue who this guy was, so I just kind of like went in like one ear out the other. And then when he was like revealed, I saw like people losing their mind. It's like, who is this? And I'm like, oh wait, I remember now that Eric was like gung ho about this character. So again, Eric is all about like the deep cuts. I mean, he's awesome with it. But again, it goes to show that Star Wars is such a massive universe where even characters I don't know about, like I'll learn about at some point, because I'm just working on the project. But that's a good thing too, because it creates like this really cool, almost like a cyclical like thing where I remember when like I worked on like Darth Malgus. There were a lot of people in like the Discord who had no clue or had never heard of like Darth Malgus, and then they went back and watched the cinematic, and then they're like, oh, this character's really cool. So again, it's like that thing where like, oh, we're creating a character from the game, from the cinematic, that then brought more attention to the cinematic because we created the toy, because the people heard about the toy first versus the other way around. So it's a really cool like cyclical thing that happens sometimes, and I think that's another cool thing about Star Wars in general, the fact that it is like so vast from like the novels, the comics, the video games, the movies, television shows, and stuff like that too, where you just got a lot of different fans who just enjoy it for different reasons. I think that's awesome. So,
hey, just looking at my 3D printer.
Kiwi wants to start a print.
Oh, what's going on? She's like,
what kind of print do you have? Like a bamboo?
Yeah, nice. I have the P1P.
Nice. Yeah, I've pretty much like just stuck to resin printing at this point in time. Like I had like a FDM printer like maybe several years ago. I can never pull a decent print off like that, just because like I can never set the nozzle temperature correct, so I'd always create like a lot of stringing. Even though I would define it in like the software, it would always default to like 300 degrees, which is like too hot. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. Like the amount of like cleanup I have to do. I've never had an issue with resin, so I've just stuck with like that. Even though it is like a little bit like messier in different ways, I'm fine with it. So
yeah. I've heard it's really smelly.
With the latest stuff, like no, like I'm actually in my 3D print room. Like the vats are full of resin. I don't smell any of it right now. I've got like the Hay Gears ones that are pretty much like plug and play. You don't have any like issues with that because it's all like automated. So it's a lot of people equate it to the bamboo of like resin printing. So I want something that would just work out of the box, and it does. So I mean, I'm just using that for prototyping and such. But no, sorry not to derail this conversation, but you said 3D print. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna nerd out for a little bit here. So
now Justin and I both have bamboos, but I am definitely resin printing curious.
Yep.
Just because obviously like the removal of layer lines and stuff like that just seems very, very appealing.
It's like better
to
for
me.
Characters.
Yeah.
Yes. It's way more like for the scale that I work at, it's way more advantageous to have something like that dimensionally accurate, because you can also, well, I mean, the same's true for like for bamboo, but like I have a dedicated printer just for kind of ABS plastic and dedicated printer for like PVC plastic, and I can just kind of make stuff however I need to. But 3D printing is always awesome. But if you ever like want to like learn, I definitely like can hop on a call and teach you a few things here and there, because I've got it locked down to a pretty simple process for the most part. So
sweet.
See, this is the
might
advantage.
have to take you up on that.
I was gonna say this is the advantage of having a YouTube channel, because that was Landspeeder Luke for the longest time. He was just on call 24. Luke, my print not working. Help. So all right. Yeah, I do like 3D print. I haven't like been. I gotta like jump back in. I do like diorama piece. Nate too does like diorama pieces. Landspeed. Everybody knows.
You got to do the Luke prints.
Yeah,
it's worth it just for the Luke prints.
Right. All right, Nate. I know you wanted to talk about this Mafex stuff.
Yeah, true.
What do we got here? What's going on?
I mean, we don't have to dwell on these, but I do like covering the Star Wars import figures. And Mafex dropped 2 more this week, as they do. They love dropping 2 pre-orders at once. The first one being Bo-Katan from Season 3 of The Mandalorian. And I think she looks fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Am I crazy for, like, because didn't they just do a Bo-Katan?
Well, they did Bo-Katan, but she was Season 2. So the shoulder armor. The shoulder armor is different. The head portrait is different. I almost think the arms and the torso might even be totally different in general as well. But it's one of those like super subtle, minor differences. But it's cool to see, because I definitely thought we were going to get this look in the Black Series, since it just seems like such an easy.
I remember that being a lock.
Like, sculpt a new shoulder, update the head, call it a day. But then it never came. So I think it's cool that at least Mafex is taking a swing at it. A little too pricey for me, unfortunately, especially with the ongoing tariff nightmare that we're experiencing.
Yes.
But the swinging Darksaber effect is a really cool thing to see. The little shield as well for her.
Yeah, that's cool.
Gauntlet. Obviously, it's Mafex, so she's actually going to be loaded up with quite a few accessories. A lot more than the first bow offering.
Nice.
So, yeah. Now, this one is another one where I'm like, thought this was going to be a Hasbro lock.
Mercenary Ahsoka?
But we didn't end up getting it, so maybe Ahsoka Season 2, maybe it'll happen, but... Yeah, Mafex is also taking a stab at Ahsoka the White, and they are including her cloak with the figure, which is, the main reason I personally did not pick up the Black Series version. I thought the exclusion of the cloak was a huge mistake, especially when you watch Season 1 of Ahsoka and you find out how often she has the cloak on. You're just like, damn it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Mafex is taking a swing at it. Again, she looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Looks like they updated the head portraits. They made the Leku look a lot beefier and bulkier. Yeah. But once again, it sucks that we're in such a... We went from the golden age of collecting imports to the dark ages of collecting imports within, like, the span of a couple months.
And it is all the fault of what is happening, like, economically.
Right.
The fiscal policy of the week.
Without a doubt.
It sucks, because I recently got into imports last year. SHF, Mayfex. I'm going OT completionist when it comes to imports. And, like, even the Forlom. I was like, yeah, give me the background Empire Strikes Back super duper import level articulation figure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it does suck that I'm priced out of this because Grievous was my last. I was like, I can't do that again. It like 150 for 112 figure. I was like, I can't.
Yeah,
Grievous
I
hurt.
Too. Yeah, I had to get like Grievous, but yeah.
You did get Grievous?
Yeah. Because
I
think like you just said it, but I was telling Nate that like Grievous is my favorite Star Wars villain of all time. So I have him in a bunch of different forms. I also had like I think it was like called like Disney Toy Box, like stylized version of him where he's just it almost like it looks like Disney Infinity style, but it's not.
So what are we gonna do when SHF drops the white and blue repaint? I'm gonna be so fried, bro.
Yeah, I might rebuy. I might rebuy.
Let's hope they never do that.
That honestly might get me too.
Oh man,
a 2D Clone Wars specific Grievous.
You think, and like maybe SHF, they would include an alt foot to grip one saber.
Okay, at that point, yeah, I'm rebuying.
Yeah.
You know, Nate, even though the Black Series Grievous is one of like, well, I think it's the worst figure in the line. The Black Series Grievous, I think, is the worst figure in Black Series.
Yeah.
However, you know what I've been kind of wanting to pick up? The 2D Clone Wars Grievous and just leave them on card because I'm going through my packaging phase.
Yeah,
I've been kind of thinking about tracking down the 2D Clone Wars card packs. I twofered those when they came out because I knew I was like I want these on card, but I want to open them as well.
Yeah, I only committed to like, the one purchase there. Like, but I still have like the box hanging up by itself without the figure. But yeah,
yeah, no, I had to double.
Bro, you're one of those people, bro.
Yeah,
Tartakovsky Clone Wars is.
Yeah.
I'll go out of my way for Tartakovsky stuff. Like,
and then I was like, the 08 Clone Wars is cool too, but I think those are like super expensive now.
Did you see that hot toy, Bailey, of Sassy Tin?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, dude, I missed it. Yeah. I missed it. I was literally about to actually plunge into another hot toy, but
yeah, I only have like maybe 2 hot toys, and they're both boxed because I literally just don't have space. I got the Spider-Man 2 Venom. Goodness, that thing is massive.
Oh, like from the game?
From the game, yeah,
brother. That's probably huge.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But it's like, I took it out of the box and like looked at it and like played with it a little bit, and then put it back in the box. And now it's just in like my closet because literally no space for it. I don't know why I bought it. I had to because it's probably my favorite design of Venom that exists out there right now. But yeah, that thing is a unit.
It's this one.
Yeah.
Does that say it's 20 inches?
Yes.
Yeah. Wait. Look at this size comparison. Wait. Yeah. Look.
Brother.
Look at Spidey.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I mean, like my frame of reference for this is literally just like I saw the Marvel Legends in store, and I was like, why is this Venom like absurd?
Yeah. Well, he's that big in the game because they use the game model, and then just basically So yeah, it's crazy. Because I also bought the collector's edition for Spider-Man 2, so I even had like this Venom statue fighting like Miles Morales and Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and just. That's already big enough, but I'm just like, I've got to get the Hot Toys because it looks so awesome, and then no space for it, so you're just back in the box. But yeah.
Yep.
Now, if they do a Spider-Man 3 Topher Grace Venom, we're buying?
Probably, because I'm just...
Dude.
My God!
There's certain characters I'll just rebuy for. I know I'm part of the problem, but like, just let me have my fun. Like, I'll rebuy Venom. If they do like a Carnage and Venom 2-pack, no space, but I'll buy it because, why not? But yeah. Venom's my favorite Spider-Man villain, so I think I have to kind of buy him in those forms. So, yeah, but just massive. So
that's awesome. I couldn't imagine just the pure scale of that thing.
Like a little child.
Oh, it's a hot toy that actually weighs something.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I would say
I always chap the figure ball boys' asses.
The figure balls?
Yeah, the figure balls. Because that's my I hate to say it, but that's like the one thing about hot toys. I'm like, why are they so light? Why do they all weigh like Barbie doll?
And people are consistently like, we get called out for it. People criticize us for saying that, but I'm like,
sorry.
The inverse, you literally use that. Like anyone who's criticized us for saying like, I'm kind of surprised about Hot Toys being like really light. I was expecting it to be heavier. Every single person who's ever criticized us for saying that has also said, wow, this has some heft to it at some point in their life to ascribe quality.
Yeah.
Like, everyone uses weight to ascribe quality. Damn, this has some weight to it. This is good.
Yep.
And bro, are those heavy? Are those heavy? Then that means they're expensive. Put them back. All I got.
We would just fill it with sand.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta do. And then I'm gonna go, yeah, I'll buy a Hot Toy.
Yeah, just put some weight in the boots, and I'll be like, yeah, this is good, man.
Yeah,
because we talk about the Tauntaun in Black Series in comparison to the Wampa, and one huge reason why the Wampa is so much better is that it's a solid sculpt. The Tauntaun is like a cheap play school, like it's so hollow on the inside.
Right.
The Wampa is so much better because it's heftier.
Right.
And it's also just, it's a sharper sculpt and everything too.
Right. Yeah, I think like if I had to ballpark, I'd probably put Venom at 7 pounds easy. Like,
damn.
Yeah, I mean, I was taken aback by how heavy he was because I was expecting like, again, on the lighter side. Because if you want to do like really kind of crazy dynamic poses, he might have to be a little bit like lighter in some areas. But like, yeah, he feels solid too. So.
Mm-hmm. Is he like rubbery?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But
see now that would keep me from wanting to display it because like what happens when bro gets dusty?
Exactly. Or if you got animals, what happens if bro gets furry? Like
yeah.
That's why I keep him in the box because, like, you know, I already feeling it. Like, there is like a slight kind of like stickiness to like the rubber, which again it makes sense for Venom. But like, they did the whole thing where like, they don't have a visible part break in the elbow. That's just all kind of sheathed by like that rubber material. He's got like a part break in his like shoulder and stuff, but like, and that's just like a rubber overlay. But whenever I was like bending like the arm, it felt kind of gross. Which again, it's on brand for Venom, so I didn't mind it. But like, I'm like, man, I got pets. I can't put him out in the wild because he will look like he's of the wild at that point. So yeah,
you'll have a fuzzy Venom.
Yeah.
Do you have like dogs or cats or
cats? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Justin and I can't come over, bro.
Yeah, sorry.
We're both allergic.
Oh man.
But what are the odds that we're both like not deathly, but like our entire day will be ruined? And it's so unfortunate because cats are so cute.
Yeah, I do like cats. I just if I touch them, well, it depends. If it's a long-haired cat, I cannot touch them, or else my hand will literally start burning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it'll just.
You cannot come over at all. It would not be a good experience.
Short-haired cats, I can at least pet. I could be around for a little bit, but after a while, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta dip.
Bro, on the topic of like dusty figures, though, you know what? I've been kind of toying around with picking up a Brotar, Nate. Which is like, do you know what that is?
Yes.
Nope. Okay, so all of the figure ball boys who have gotten into Hot Toys this past, year, 2 years, they have all picked up this like shelf. So like typically the Detolfs from IKEA, that's like kind of your introductory, like everybody has these, in the collecting space. But Brotar is like it's kind of like a cabinet version of that, but it has lighting pre-installed and it's just the 2 doors and there's like multiple shelves and it's like longer. Mm-hmm. So I've been thinking about picking one of those up, Nate. And because like I've told you this before, I don't really like my Detolf shelves anymore because they are just, every time you open the door, the entire thing shakes.
Yeah. Figures
fall. And I feel like I appreciate the figures less because they're stuck behind the glass. I feel like I never like go to pick up those figures and like give it a different accessory or a different head because that's what I do in my NECA. So I actually put them all like on top. I'm like, I'm putting these all the way up here just for ease of access. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm gonna get the Brotar.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, I definitely would consider getting one as well, just because they're like pre-lit, so you don't have to worry about getting a specific lighting kit or anything like that.
That's what sucks. Like these pucks, I'm like, I gotta recharge them every lazy Sunday. Yeah. I gotta like recharge every single one. Yeah. I'm like, that kind of sucks.
The pucks die so quick.
Yep.
I have noticed that as well.
It might have been a giant waste of money on my part. I'm not gonna lie.
But it's the never-ending quest. It's like, what do you do? Because your choices are buy shelves that aren't lit, try and light them yourself, or shell out even more money to buy pre-lit shelving.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest thing is like trying to hide the wires or like trying to make it not look like a...
Right.
That's why I was like looking for something that was like rechargeable, just because the wires, I just don't know how people do it. Like there's lighting kits and stuff for DTOF shelves, but it's all cords, and it's like you got to take the whole thing apart and build it and trail the cords in it a specific way.
Well, yeah, Lane Spirit Luke, your whole thing is different because you have the closet to Narnia.
True.
And
I have a couple of those bars, and they are amazing, but Luke is right. They're pricey, bro. They are expensive.
Lane Speeder Luke just has the greatest display of all time.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. Yeah.
Like
every single update video I'm watching, I'm like, man, this is immaculate. It's so good.
Have you seen this, Bailey? Have you ever seen this post?
I have not. Wait, yeah, I actually have.
Yeah, I was going to say his comments right there, bro.
Yeah.
Top comment.
Yeah. I just forgot about it. Yeah.
Bro, when I got to go to his place and I opened that closet, it's like the gates of heaven.
Yeah, like the videos are always like super impressive. Like just kind of, how he puts it like era by era. Like it's awesome.
And I loved our little gimmick photos here. Especially the me and bro.
The selfie.
Yeah. All right, you guys want to do some recent pickups?
Sure.
All right. Let's get it. Yeah, Luke, I think a collection purge is in order. I was talking to Luke last night about this, that I think another purge is in order, because if 2027 is what I kind of think and hope it is, as far as like original trilogy focus, like I hope we get some holes from the OT. I feel like I might need more room. Like I might need even more room for more peak. Like the Revenge of the Sith SDCC set, I like redesigned my entire prequel setup, and even though Revenge of the Sith is the third movie, I put it in the middle shelf because I was like, how could this set not be the centerpiece of a prequel display? So I think another a redoing of the display and a little purge is in order. What does Luke look like? He's very handsome.
He is a hunk.
He is very handsome. Bro, I was there. I was literally there. No,
we know.
Bro, I was like, phew.
Yeah. It's not fair. Shout out to R2 Drew 2 for being a member for 16 months. Hope it's been a great lazy Sunday. I'll be catching the replay. Thank you, brother.
Heck yeah, bro. That. All right, I'll go first. Bailey, do you have recent pickups, Bailey?
Only one thing. It's like that Exoid over there. Yeah, I can show it to you real quick though. I'll grab it.
All right, we'll have Bailey go first this time. We'll have the guest go first. Oh, it's
damn, bro's ripped.
Bro,
the guns are out.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually crazy.
The guns are out. There's the recent pickup right there.
Yeah, so this is like the Death Store. It's a model kit, and build time for this was about 4 hours. But I mean, he lights up and he like moves and stuff.
Oh snap!
What?
Yeah, then he just like lights up in like this mode. So like there's like a little lever that you can push it in like 3 different states. This is like the off state. This is like LED, and then he's got LED movement right there. So his like tail like moves and everything. Like he walks, and I love
That's so sick.
Right? So cool. In the anime, he is like literally Godzilla sized. He is like insane sized Zoid. So I mean, he's very like just crazy, amazing, and like he's like little LEDs animate too. Like they kind of like just.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
And he's also got like a little like intake fan on the back here too that goes if you push this.
That's crazy.
And like, like the vertebrae and his like neck moves too. So again,
damn.
I pick up stuff like this because obviously I'm a fan of this, but then from an engineering perspective, this is crazy. I love it. So
That is sick.
that's my only recent pickup. But like
That's
I said,
cool.
my space, like I just got like this like corner shelf, and I'm just putting Godzilla stuff on it because I'm a fan. So
Is that a
and
pre-lit corner shelf, or did you
it
put
is,
lighting?
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a pre-lit one. I just like plug it like, right there. I have nothing else in the space, so it's really easy for me to just access it. So
Is that like from somewhere specific?
it's just from Amazon. It's like I forgot what the company called. It's called like Edge Glow. That's like that's the brand name of like this model, but I don't know what the actual company is. But I got
I have
several
a
years
corner
back.
shelf, but it's not lit. Look at how
Gotcha.
dark it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, on the camera, this looks a lot brighter. Like this is at its like dimmest setting. If I crank this up, I mean, it gets like it's super bright, and it's just like all remote. Yeah, it's like
Dude, hell yeah.
yes, but yeah,
Right. That's
but,
dope.
you can turn it off and on with like a remote and stuff. So it's
Oh,
kinda
sweet.
cool. Yeah.
All right. So we covered in the Black Series news that the Mall Shadowlord wave has been popping up at Meyer locations. And there was a bit of an issue here because I know our friend Forgon said he found it down in Kentucky, and we're further up north in the Midwest in the Chicagoland-ish area. And we have Meyer. You know, it's a Midwest chain, so I've been trying to find it, and I did find it. They had 2 Rooks and 2 Malls. I'm like, are they doing the GameStop thing where they're, like, splitting up the case? Because where's 11th Brother and where's Devin? But, yeah, only a Rook and Mall. And I went to go scan them, and they weren't scanning. So, even though I don't recommend doing this, because typically people at Target will be like, oh, it's street dated, let me scan like a regular Black Series figure. That's not right. I don't think you should do that. However, the employee literally said, was there like another figure like this, like from this toy line? And I was like, yes. And she was like, can you go get 2 of them, please? So I came back with the Director Krennic and like Sinar Test Pilot Cassian. She scanned those 2 figures, and she let me take the 2 Rooks.
Nice.
So I'm not saying you should do that. Like when something is street dated at Target, I do think that messes up their inventory and their stock, and like
100%.
that might even be theft if I'm being honest. But in this case, the employee literally told me to do it. So
Yeah, bro, you got permission. You're good.
yeah, I did get a Rook cast. Which, she looks awesome. A Mandalorian warrior. Of course, she is from the Dark Horse Mall comic book and made her animation debut in Clone Wars Season 7. And then she appears in Mall Shadowlord. And I love the dark maroon, reddish, black, gray. Even the blasters, I could tell, are painted there. And, like we were talking about earlier with how much we prefer non-removable helmets, you know, a solid sculpt. Never has there been a better example since her helmet is so tiny. They definitely would have had to mat down that hair and made it look bad. So instead, they, you know, the common sense pulled through this time. And we got Rook cast.
Nice.
Bro, you did this face, right?
Yep. Yeah, I also did like edits to like the skirt, like the torso, but just like little touch up stuff here and there just to help out with proportions. But yeah, primarily like the face for the most part. So
nice. So yeah, she looks good. I could tell. You know, she's a gothic. You know, she's a goth
baddie.
chick. Yeah, I was gonna say baddie, but I don't know the age of this character. She's gotta be. She was in Clone Wars and all that.
Yeah. Rook's an adult, hopefully.
But yeah, she has some great scenes as well. So, and I really like Maul's like Shadow Collective like Mandos. I really hope we can get the black armored Mandos that she has, where it's like you can tell they painted over their red armor. I would even take like Clone Wars Season 7 Mandalorians. Give me Gar Saxon as well. All right, Bailey, take notes. Take notes.
Okay.
Put it on your to-do list.
All right.
Give me Gar.
All
Yeah,
right.
I just love the aesthetic of these Mandos, and I got 2, 1 for Nate.
True. That's true.
And oh snap, there's a big fig. So last week I showed you guys the blind box stuff with the Chucky, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to grab something.
Is this NECA?
Yes.
Okay.
This is
I've been wanting to pick up like a NECA figure. Primarily, like I want to try and get one of the crossover like TMNT and then MonsterVerse stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Some of those are fun.
Yeah.
I've got a few of them.
Are you into horror at all?
Honestly, no. I'm more into monsters than anything else, but that's why I like just like kind of universal monsters, like classic ones like Dracula, stuff like that. So,
Dude,
Okay,
go get her. Go get her.
I'll do that. I'll be right back.
This is a crazy pickup. This is actually a Lucy pickup. It's not even a Justin pickup.
yeah.
But yeah, she went crazy. She went crazy on this pickup.
Oh my goodness. Oh man.
Bro, what is that?
So I came home from work and there was just a massive box. And I knew what it was. I knew my wife was getting this. I was hamming it up in that video where I was like, "What's going on?"
Hubby's pissed.
So she literally bought the NECA life-size Bride of Chucky Tiffany replica doll.
That's awesome.
Bro, she has to like brush the hair and shit. Like real leather jacket with the zippers and I'm like struggling to get her in frame. She's so huge.
That's wild. That's awesome though.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's got like a wire metal skeleton in it. So like the articulation is really strange. Like when you're bending the elbow, I was messing with her and I was like, I don't know. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife loves Jennifer Tilly. I was just talking about this last week because we had like bought all those blind boxes and stuff for Tiffany, and she has been wanting this for so long. They retailed for $500 because this is like a screen accurate replica. Like this is like professionally made, like literally peak, and it was kind of an older release, so we missed out on that. But she found some store on eBay that they put these on sale. They must have ordered a bunch of them because for only $580, so only $80 over retail, and I thought that was a good deal. So I was like, yeah, just why not go for it? So yeah.
Now you need Chucky, bro. It's only a matter of time.
Okay, now I feel absolutely compelled to get Chucky as well. I'm like, how could I not somehow, some way track down Chucky? But Tiffany was the priority.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, the quality of that looks awesome too.
Yeah, I was working from home the most previous day I worked from home, and I was walking down the hallway, and she like posed her purposefully to where I would like see her in the corner of my eye, and she was just like, I was like, all right, I can't. So yeah, shout out Lucy for literally like that is like bigger than me getting a hot toy or something. Like that is just like insane.
But you know what that means is you've got license to get a hot toy now.
I mean, I could
Sand Trooper with Dewback.
I mean, I could get a hot toy at any point that I want. I just don't. It's just not my cup of tea. They're too big. Too big, and for like 14 times more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get it.
I'm an importer. I'm an importer and a Black Series guy. I need that 112. On the topic of horror, though, I got 2 physical media pickups. I did pick up the 4K of It, Welcome to Derry.
Nice.
Hell yeah. I got to pick that up.
Yep. This is a solid HBO Max series. Got that one. And then there's a horror film in theaters, might be out of theaters by now, called Hokum. And that was that specific director's 3rd movie. And I really like his 2nd movie, Oddity.
Nice.
And Nate, this got announced on 4K 2 days ago.
Yep. I had this in my Amazon wish list, and I almost bought it, and then I was like, whew.
It was only like $12.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it was crazy, but still.
I'm all good.
All right, not a lot for me this week, but yeah, I did get Rook. Shout out to Justin. Appreciate my brother for hunting this one down for me. And then I did get some NECA figures this week. I was at a kind of in like a rural area that had a Walmart, and I always love stopping in those rural area Walmarts because they're always loaded with good stuff. But they had some Chucky blind boxes, nice. So I took a swing, and if this would have been before they announced the Child's Play 2 Ultimate Chucky figure that I already picked up, this was the one I was looking for. So I pulled the Chucky with the scissors and the Jack-in-the-Box here, like the classic poster for Child's Play 2. I'm looking for Thanksgiving Chucky, so if someone out there has Thanksgiving Chucky, they don't want him, hit me up.
The blind boxes had me stressing. Lucy said for Series 3, she's just going to buy the entire box and just not mess around with trying to check the weights of the blind boxes and feel the box and see which one I'm trying to get. Blind boxes, bro. I can't. I can't do it anymore.
Generally, and especially I like the idea of these being blind box, but they're also $20 a piece. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
right. And if you get a dud, it's just like a total waste.
Right.
It's not the price that I would be comfortable with going crazy on blind box figures.
8. Am I crazy for thinking that should be 8 or 10?
Yeah, 10. I would say if this was $10 to $12, I'd be all on board. Because you also have to think too.
It's all the same body.
It's the same body, and this is the same body that they've had for Chucky ever since they did Ultimate Chucky all the way back in 2018 or something like that.
Which Zoo Boys said they've actually made updates to it, but I
mean, it's slight they've changed the sculpt of the cuff on the bottom of the shoe so you can get a little bit more range out of the feet. It's it's minor stuff like that. It's nothing major. But at that same Walmart, they also had the Ghostface Returns Ultimate figure, which I've got several NECA Ghost Faces, but how are you not gonna pick one up when they've done two really cool things with this set? Obviously, we've got the Was Up face.
I mean, that's the main,
which is just incredible.
Yeah.
But something else that they did, and I love the way this looks, is there's a vac metal knife.
Oh, that's cool.
That is included. Look how shiny that is. I know it's not focusing very well, but
you're in that cinematic mode that I was in.
I know, dude. I don't know how to escape the cinematic mode.
Right, we've been using the same webcams, and then it's just different every time we load up StreamYard.
Right, but get it. Super sick that they did this vac metal knife. So you got a really chrome knife with Ghostface. This is on
hasbro. Vac metal 3PO. All right.
This is on a. It's not a unique body for Ghostface, but this is on a newer body, so this articulates a lot better than even the Ghostface you have, Justin, that first release.
Yeah, I was actually gonna pick. I found that at my Walmart, and it is a NECA Ultimate, so $35. And I was like, am I really about to spend $35 for a different head? Because the Was Up Scary Movie face is the only reason I would want that figure. And, well, now Vac Metal Knife is cool. But in the moment, I was like, am I really about to spend $35 on an alt head?
I
couldn't do it.
I will also say it's one of those situations, too, Justin, where you don't really notice until you have them side by side. But this regular sculpt is so much more accurate that the original NECA Ultimate Ghostface kind of looks bad in comparison. It's just like the eyes are much more accurate now. Like they're much more peanut shapely, like they're supposed to be.
Well, that phenomenon happens sometimes because it's kind of like the same thing with the deluxe Mandalorian and Grogu that just came out. And once we actually like reviewed that set, we're like, this is actually so much better than Book of Boba Fett Mando. Glavis Ring World. It's shinier. It's like more silver. Like the whole thing is like more silver.
Yeah. Justin, can I tease something? Can I give the audience a little tease?
Of course.
Little tease. Yeah. Is everyone watching?
Yeah, everyone needs to watch for this. We need eyes on the screen if you're just listening.
Figure it out this week. Uh-oh.
Bro, where'd we get that?
Uh-oh.
Crazy.
Yep. And Zoo is spitting here. Because I know Justin has the OG Ultimate Ghost Face, so I definitely think you would enjoy the upgrade. I like the reaction. Yep.
We're magic.
Yeah.
We're paid off, the man, they're paying us off.
No. We got the Hong Kong hookup like everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
In the community. I paid $800 to get it today.
RoboQuiff collects Landspeeder Luke.
Yeah.
Collectibles.
Shout out to those guys, but that's just not what we do. That's just not something Justin and I are interested in.
It's also like we're exaggerating. It's not that much more.
Yeah, no, it's not, but still. Yeah, I think this Ghostface, though, would actually be a pretty good upgrade for you, my brother.
All right.
So
it looks super clean.
Love me some Ghostface. Love me some NECA horror. But, yeah, those are my pickups for the week.
All right. Look at us go. 2 hours and 52 minutes.
Damn.
Flying by.
True. Only 17 more hours to go.
Yeah. Yeah, we stole it from the factory.
Yeah.
What factory worker did you mug for that?
I flew to China, infiltrated the factory, and extracted the figures.
Yeah, but on that topic, there is a fun video going up on Tuesday.
True.
So Tuesday we'll have a fun little video. We might be opening something,
Yeah, something that's right behind Justin's shoulder that's vaguely familiar in the background.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that'll be fun. That's edited, ready to go. I just need Austin to help me with the thumbnail a bit because he needs to work his magic on a certain element of it. So yeah, that'll be Tuesday, and then figure it out Friday. That review.
True.
We'll be the first ones on. I wonder if we'll be the first ones on YouTube. Because I know people have it. I just don't know.
Yeah. I guess it just depends. I don't know if there's any reviewers that have it. Or if everyone else is just kind of like content creator status. I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah. That is it for... I was going to say the news. There was no news. For Black Series, at least.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, there was a huge fan stream just a week or so ago.
No, we need more.
We need more. We'll get more.
We got glittery ghost face.
Is that the one? Do you have the green mask where it's like the Halloween costume?
Yeah, and this new one comes with the green mask. You get green, bloody, disco, and the was up face in addition to the clean. And then you get the vac metal knife, you get a bloody knife, you get an axe, a saw, and then the voice changer. And then different gripping hands, and then this hand.
Yeah.
Because for some reason they can't include a phone with Ghostface.
Right.
So.
All right. Nate, did you have any last minute questions for Bailey?
I think we about covered it all. At least for now.
I tried to do like an even spread, get all my heavy hitting questions out of the way. Yeah, I think we're good.
Sweet.
Did you want to? Are we ready to end the stream, Nate? We're ready to go. I think Lucy's out getting food for us. I think I'm getting Firehouse.
Ooh, I do like a Firehouse sub. Yeah, we can go ahead and end it here. The reviews for the giant Groglet. Yeah.
Did you like the movie, Bailey?
I actually have not seen it because I was in Japan when it first. Yeah, I have not seen it.
Disney, Hasbro,
call Brandon. Brandon.
How about this? What has been like your favorite like modern Star Wars thing?
Well, probably Andor and Tales of the Jedi.
Absolute cinema.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a craftsmanship standpoint, Andor, I think it's kind of untouched in most aspects. I mean, the cinematography, everything storytelling wise about it, it's awesome.
Dude, Brandon is giving you permission.
And then he's...
No, don't show him the second part.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But Tales of the Jedi was like... I didn't see like the second season, which was like Tales of something else. But like the first one, I thought was from just a short storytelling perspective was amazing. Like, for example, like Dooku's transition into like who he became was amazing. Like little instances that I pick up on, such as like when, again, if anybody hasn't seen it, there's a little spoiler here, but when he faces off against Yaddle, how the hangar door closes and it just kind of covers him in shadow because he's kind of falling to the dark side in that way. When any sort of like visual cue melds with the narrative in that way, I pick up on it and I appreciate to that. So the fact that there was like that level of care for that sequence and like that character change was amazing. And that's why like I kind of hold Tales of the Jedi up like there too, because just little things like that matter so much to me because they just handle like that narrative weight a lot better than just kind of just randomly doing like action here, action there. Like if you have all things firing on all cylinders, just working towards one cohesive like message, it's going to resonate with me a little bit more. And then Andor was just like, it actually made me fear the Empire, like fear like the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of times, I mean, stormtroopers, in my opinion, are just kind of played as like gag characters. They're only a threat because there's so many of them, but I never feel like there's a lot of them in a lot of like media. But in like Andor, I found them really frustrating in the way that like Cassian felt, where just like these people are everywhere. They're like leeches. They're just like you can't escape them. Like I'm not getting fair trials or anything like that. They're suffocating, and I found like that way more compelling than their blasters are misfiring on this can in like Mandalorian season 2 or whatever or Book of Boba Fett, whatever it was, for comedic relief. I'm just like, you're telling me that I'm supposed to fear them, but you're making jokes of them at the same time, which I get. Like, they've done that for since like the OT with bonking like their heads on like the hangar doors and stuff. But like at the same point, I'm like, I don't know. It falls into the whole like line of like how you got the Disney humor that undercuts all drama. It's just like let drama breathe a little bit. You can have humor, obviously, in the sequence, but if you try and undercut the drama with a quick joke or quick laugh, I'm just like, it cheapens it for me. So the fact that Andor took itself seriously, and the fact that Tales of the Jedi also took itself seriously, I respect it. So I'd say probably, as far as like the Disney era Star Wars, those are the two things that have resonated with me the most. I still have yet to watch like Maul. I still need to watch like that too. So I'm kind of behind on like the more recent stuff, but I do plan on watching that because I've heard some crazy, amazing things about that. Obviously, no spoilers, but just like the quality of it was really good. So I'm glad to hear it because I mean, being a Star Wars fan is kind of hard because the quality standards just like it's very hit or miss. It seems like a lot of times. So, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of Ahsoka. I did not like Thrawn at all. He seemed more like a politician than like an actual smart person. The fact that when anything went wrong, he essentially say like, "Oh, it's all going according to plan." It's like, dude, you're not showing me that you're capable at all. You're just kind of kicking out your ass. Like I don't know. It just didn't sit well with me. And I didn't feel Thrawn was threatening at all. So yeah, I'd say Andor and Tales of the Jedi are probably of I've seen like of the stuff I've seen is probably the two things I like the most. So
yeah, I was just fishing there because I know Zach was freaking out when you were hating on the Kenobi series because you were spitting on the hate on the Kenobi series, but Zach, to see his reaction to that was funny. I'm like, yeah.
I did not. Here's the thing. I liked it when it was Kenobi and Vader, and like their dialogue, their dynamic. That final like battle was, and the dialogue there was pretty sweet. But everything else about the series to me just kind of, I don't know. It just didn't sit well with me with like motivations for Kenobi. It really it didn't because And also too, like there was like an interview I think Star Wars had done with like the writer for the Kenobi show, of, like what it could have been, and it was way more in line with what I wanted out of a Kenobi show when it was still like a movie format and not like the TV show format. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've kind of discovered that a lot of good ideas die on the vine, and then just like the stuff that I don't know how it gets greenlit, but it does. But I mean, if people enjoy the show, like that's awesome. But like for me as a Kenobi fan, I just didn't like it, and that's just that's just my thing. So.
Yep.
No, I mean, I definitely resonate with what you're saying. Like, Andor to me is the peak of like what they've done in the modern time. It's like one of the best Star Wars things, period.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like counting everything, not just the modern stuff.
Right.
And it is like, I feel like I'm always going back and forth whether we're back, especially like Andor season 2 being a literal masterpiece, and then Maul Shadowlord. I'm like two hot fire bangers back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And then like even the Mandalorian Grogu, I wasn't like, it's not necessarily my cup of tea as like just the innocent, harmless, fun action adventure where like there isn't really, well, you haven't seen it, so I won't say anything. So
like I know like roughly like the plot because that was kind of like, to us when we are like working on stuff for it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I mean, I'll say it, but like I mean, I don't know. After season 3, like Mando, I'm like, it kind of like I don't know. I wish I cared more. That's the thing. Like I wish I cared to go see it, but I mean, to me, I don't know if this is just like a me thing or if other people are feeling, but it doesn't feel like Mando Grogu felt like a Star Wars movie event. Like there wasn't like that like atmosphere that Star Wars normally has in terms of like Star Wars are back in the theaters. Like it didn't seem like it had that kind of like pull. That could have maybe been due to like the marketing and stuff. The trailer that we got, which wasn't really a trailer, was like for the Super Bowl, I think. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it felt like weird to me. And again, maybe going off like Book of Boba Fett and then like the Mando season 3, just I don't know. Like I really think that the whole heel turn that they did from what they were setting up in Mando season 2, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with you right there. Mandalorian could have ended at season 2, and it probably would have been pretty awesome.
But what can you do? But I'll probably go see it just because of curiosity and stuff. But like, I'm not. It's not like I have to. I don't feel like compelled to go see. I might just wait until it's on Disney Plus too. But we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely worth watching, but it's nothing crazy for sure.
All right. How about Dune Part 3?
Oh,
you into Dune at all?
My best friend is. I'm waiting to like all of the movies come out to just binge them because. So I've got one buddy who's only seen the movies. He loves them. I've got one buddy who literally puts quotes of all those books on his wall because he's that big of a fan. It's his like favorite sci-fi series of all time, and it's kind of fun for him because when the movies were first announced, his favorite sci-fi director was directing the Dune. So he's like, it can't get better than this, and he's been having an awesome time going to see like those movies. So just based off like close ties, I feel compelled to just like watch it. But I'm just waiting for everything to come out, so I can just watch this more creative versus having to wait years on end just to get more stuff. So
yeah, I've developed an obsession, so I had to squeeze in that question.
Yeah.
All right, Nate, take us out so I don't just endlessly ramble on
all right.
different movies and franchises and
wait, Blade Runner?
Yeah.
Bailey, thanks so much for spending over 3 hours with us. We appreciate you.
Pleasure.
Carving out a significant chunk of your Sunday to talk toys with us. So
it was fun.
Definitely happy to have you on. Hopefully you'll join us again sometime in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Like you saw, like Justin teased, we got some fun stuff this week. We got a fun little video on Tuesday. We got a fun little early review on Friday as well for Figure It Out. So stay tuned for all of that. Austin's asking the real questions. Bailey, how many good seasons of Game of Thrones are there?
So, actually, this is a funny story. So, I was seeing the last season of Game of Thrones.
No!
All right, I'm out.
No.
I'm out.
Yeah, because, like, so my parents were massive fans of it. I'm just like, for whatever reason, like, I've just never been about like, medieval, like, era storytelling. It's just a weird thing about me. But then when I was like, my roommate, when I moved to Rhode Island, he was a massive fan, so he'd have like little watch parties the entire time. So I just watched it because I'm just in the same room. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And just knowing how much hype there was between different characters, I'm like, oh, that seems satisfying. And they're like, no, it wasn't. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to invest time to this anymore. Because I was like, always thinking about at some point when it was fully out. Again, binging it because I don't like waiting in between stuff for so long a period of time. I just like to watch a story play out as it is. But just watching all this, the last season, I'm just like, and people were saying like, I wasted so much time, all this other stuff too. I'm just like, I might get rid of this because I got. But no, I mean, I've heard like the first couple seasons are awesome, so I might just watch it. Just kind of have my own like canon ending where just ends on cliffhanger maybe.
Well, hey, for book fans, the book series isn't even finished yet, so we have like a comparable experience where we only have books 5 out of 7. So like, if you only watch the first half of Game of Thrones, and that it's just its own little thing.
Yep, that's your own canon. Like, just go with that. The ending doesn't exist.
That's right. But yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this Sunday. Appreciate all of you. Don't forget to hit like before you go. Subscribe if you are new. We're always talking the Black Series here on the channel. I've been Nate. Joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And Bailey.
See ya.
We'll see you guys next time right here on Out of the Basement.
Later. Hello there.